Prosecuting Attorney Rob Junk and Special Prosecuting Attorneys Angela Canepa and Andrew Wilson. Also present is Ryan Scheider of Ohio BCI and I. The jury is not present. We're I think yesterday one of the last things that happened was we had Agent Scheider was on the witness stand and will be again when we have the jury back here. But the issue was raised concerning the playing of a recording of an interview of Edward Jacob Wagner at the Montana, USA, Canadian border. That interview was in 2017. What was the date of that? Was it
May 21st, 2017, Your Honor.
What was it?
May 21st?
Of 2017.
Correct.
May 21, 2017. And whether that should be played at this time, I believe that the defense asked that it be played. There was an objection by the state, and so we adjourned at that approximate point for that legal issue to be argued this morning. Since it's, first of all, does counsel agree that that's where we are at this point? All right. Now, since it's the state's objection, you wish to argue your objection?
Certainly, Your Honor. First of all, I guess what they finally settled on as their reason for trying to admit this is to explain next actions of the investigator. And Mr. Parker asked Agent Scheider if interviews inform your investigation, and there was some quibbling back and forth, and Mr. Parker said, well, any interview you do informs your investigation, and he agreed. I would actually like an opportunity to voir dire Special Agent Scheider on what specific actions he took as a result of that interview, because there were zero. We already had applied for the T3 to put the listening devices into vehicles. We had already stated in that T3 what our next investigative steps would be, because you have to state that in order to convince the court that you're likely to capture conversations on the recordings that you're seeking application for. Jake made a complete denial. There was nothing that was taken from that interview by Special Agent Scheider that informed next investigative steps. This is unlike the Billy interview, where the conglomeration of that stuff changed the course of the investigation and had him get a search warrant for Billy's phone and had him get a search warrant for Jake's phone and then a search warrant for Peterson Road. There were distinct investigative steps that happened as a result of that. So again, this is not, this had no effect on the investigation, quite frankly, because they all denied it. If they had admitted or confessed, they would have arrested him. But this was an absolute blank of an interview. So, you know, first and foremost. Additionally, I think it's entirely disingenuous of them to say that that is why they want to introduce this. There's not an action that they can point to that Special Agent Scheider did next as a result of Jake's statement. So again, they first said they wanted to do it to show that Jake's a liar, and that's why they want to do this. But the fact remains, and they said, you know, kept saying co-conspirator, co-conspirator. The fact remains that the co-conspirator statement cannot be introduced by the defendant himself, and that's the rule that we cited was 801D2. And there's also a federal case, United States versus Danes. I won't be able to say it. It's D-A-N-E-S. HVAR, which is 925 Federal 3rd, 766. And it says, for the first time on appeal, the defendant also argues that the email is not hearsay because it was a statement made by his co-conspirators and therefore excluded from the hearsay exception pursuant to, and that's Federal Evidence Rule 801D2E, but it is mimics the Ohio rule. It says the defendant misapplies this rule, which states that the party's co-conspirator during and furtherance of the conspiracy, the statement must be offered against an opposing party, and he incorrectly seeks to use a co-conspirator statement on his behalf, not against an opposing party, but against the government. So that exception does not apply. They cannot admit it under a co-conspirator, and there's no other hearsay exception that applies. Again, State versus Blevins that first delineated, or is one of the main cases that delineates when you can use it to explain an officer's conduct. It says it must be relevant, equivocal, and contemporaneous with the statements. Again, there's nothing that Jake Wagner said that day that led to any further investigative steps on behalf of the state. They were already set in motion. That they'd already made the application for the warrant before they interviewed anybody. So again, Your Honor, I think it's first of all disingenuous because that's not the reason they went to. I'm also curious how you're going to give a curative instruction for 5.5 hours of interview to say that you can only consider it to explain what he did next. Well, how are we going to explain what he did next based on that statement when he didn't do anything next based on that statement? So again, I think this is just a not very well-veiled attempt to get this statement in. Again, these co-conspirator statements are attributed to the defendant. It is no different than him trying to put in his own statement. And I will say this, it's a denial. Not only does he deny that he did it, he denies that anybody in his family did it. So this is a self-serving statement of a co-conspirator at this point. There's no other evidence. If we're going to say that any interview that Special Agent Scheider did inform the investigation, then I would like to do the rest of my trial with Special Agent Scheider just telling us what all the witnesses said. I mean, that's absurd. So again, Your Honor, I think this is, a disingenuous approach at trying to get in something that is not authorized and is in fact prohibited by the rules of evidence.
And I'll hear from the defense here in just a minute, but I don't recall Officer or Agent Scheider giving testimony about the contents of the statement, only that those statements were taken. Now, maybe on cross-examination he did, I'm not sure, but on direct I don't recall. I look at my notes to see if he quoted the defendants. So I guess really one question would be, for what purpose is this being requested to be played? It couldn't be impeachment of the witness because the statement is not that of Officer Scheider. And actually 801 D, Evidence Rule 801D, is not technically an exception to hearsay. It defines things that are not hearsay. And if you look at it, the introductory, well, first of all, there are two. One is a prior statement by the witness, which in this case is Agent Scheider. So it wouldn't fit that. And the other one is admission of a party opponent, and it defines 5 of those, but the first statement says the statement is offered against a party. Now, for the defense to offer this, I'm sure you're not offering it against your client, so it wouldn't fit that either. So I'm kind of curious about what it is that you're offering it for.
Thank you, Judge. I think this can be played, the statement can be played under a few different theories. To answer the court's question, it's to be played because it's against the state, all right? The state's the party. And I'd ask you to look at State versus Smith, 87, Ohio State 3rd, 424, and 434, where it talks about hearsay does not include a statement by a co-conspirator during the course and furtherance of the conspiracy. And what we have here is a bit unique, Judge, because Jake has pled guilty to conspiracy. Angela has pled guilty to conspiracy. They are co-conspirators, all right? We're not conceding that George is guilty of any conspiracy, but certainly those two have pled guilty to conspiracy, and it's the state's theory that our client is involved in this conspiracy. And so, there is proof of a conspiracy, and even though the crime had been committed, murders were done, this recording will reflect Jake's efforts to cover up his involvement, all right, and act in furtherance of the conspiracy. The case law is very clear on that. Further, we have a right to present a complete defense under Crane versus Kentucky 476 III, 1986 court case. The questions of credibility are for the jury to determine. All right? That's what the jury's all about, to determine credibility. And I should note that at a sidebar yesterday, on the record, the state conceded that we could play this. They just didn't want us to play it at this point in the trial. They said we could recall Officer Scheider in our own case and play it then. But that's, we don't think that's the proper way to do it because we have agreed to allow these, what I call professional witnesses, back and forth at the state's request to explain various aspects of the investigation. It makes sense in a complicated case like this. Agent Scheider, is the lead investigator. We're now at Montana. He's the one that interviewed Jake. And now is the time to play it. Not, 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, whenever we get to that point later on. They've already conceded that we can play it later. They just don't want us to play it now. I'd ask you to look at evidence rule 102, where the purpose is to get to the truth and to have the court introduce evidence that gets to the truth of the matter. And the court has great discretion in admitting evidence. It has great discretion in the order and mode of presentation, 611. And under State versus Carter, State versus Smith, State versus Thomas, the 1980 Ohio Supreme Court case, which talks about extrajudicial statements. It says when there's an extrajudicial statement made by an out-of-court declarant, they are properly admissible to explain the actions of the witness to whom the statement was directed. That's part of our rationale. This can come in under different theories. We believe it's a co-conspirator statement. James pled guilty to conspiracy. Angela's pled guilty to conspiracy. Part of their conspiracy is not to get caught and to lie to the authorities, which is what these items will reflect. And so it's highly relevant under 401. It's proper to bring it in. The state conceded that at a sidebar. They were just upset with the timing.
Well, are you arguing that it is a statement of a conspirator of a party during the course of and in furtherance of the conspiracy? Is that what you're arguing?
Yes, because the conspiracy continues after the crime when there's a cover.
Okay.
And this is part of the cover.
So you're acknowledging a conspiracy?
We're acknowledging Jake and Angela conspired because they pled guilty. And there was a conspiracy among them to commit these crimes. And that'll become clear. That's very clear based on the proffers they've given and the guilty pleas they've given.
But is your argument then that the conspiracy was continuing through at least the interviews at the Montana border?
Yes, because they were covering up their actions. And I would point the case. There's a case called State versus, I'll spell this, D-E, capital R-I-G-H-T-E-R, State versus Scheider, 145, Ohio State 552, the 1945 case. What it says basically is this: the theory for the admission of the acts and declarations of the co-conspirator made after the crime charge has been committed is that, quote, persons who conspire to commit a crime and who do commit a crime are as much concerned after the crime with their freedom from apprehension as they were concerned before the crime with its commission. The conspiracy to commit the crime devolves after the commission thereof into a conspiracy to avoid arrest and implication. And that's what Jake and Angel were doing. And that's why this statement, in part, that's one of the theories to bring that statement in.
I'm aware of some of the case law that indicates that the conspiracy doesn't end necessarily with when the object of the conspiracy is obtained, but typically the argument the defense makes is that in this case it did end then, so that this wasn't part of the conspiracy. But as I understand it, you're conceding that there was a conspiracy ongoing at least through the interviews at the Montana border?
Between Jake and Angela, for sure. And they pled guilty to this. That's kind of a fact. They've actually pled guilty to this conspiracy.
All right. Well, I think I understand the arguments of all, but I'm going to deny the request of defense to play the tape at this time. It may be impeachment material at a later point. If I don't know how this, I can't be sure what's going to be called here, who's going to be called and when. And it may be that it's admissible in some other way at a later point. But at this point, it doesn't impeach anything nobody's pointed out that it impeaches anything that we've had in the case so far, so that wouldn't be a reason for it. So I'm going to deny the request at this time. Now,
If I may, just two matters, one of which is, and I'll refer the court to U.S. versus Morgan, which is 581 F. 2nd 933, which actually specifies that the government can be a party opponent. And so it's not something that is a unilateral that only the party opponent is the defendant. And so that federal case does say that it's not just restricted to the defendant, but the state as well as a party opponent. So the rule goes both ways in regard to those co-conspirator statements. I just wanted to put that on the record. I'm not sure if that's going to change your ruling. But in light of your ruling, the next issue that we're going to have is now the state wants to play the statement of Angela Wagner. Now, they can only get that in as a co-conspirator statement. And she had denials throughout the entire thing except for, I believe, one part of it. And unless the state is conceding that, so the statement that I think the state wants in is a statement that Angela bought shoes for her boys. Well, if that's the state's theory, and if the state is arguing that's a correct point, well, then that point is not in furtherance of the conspiracy. So we would have no objection to playing the entire interview except for that one portion, because if that's consistent with what their case is, that is not in furtherance of the conspiracy.
all right, that's actually arguing a different statement.
You're correct, Your Honor. But actually, Mr. Parker was right when he talked about how co-conspirator statements work. So again, it is clear that statements of co-conspirator made after the object of the conspiracy is complete, that are made in an effort to either throw the investigation off or cover up the conspiracy, that those are admissible. The difference is the state is allowed to enter that because we're a party opponent. So again, with respect to the existence, the issue usually is whether or not there's independent evidence of the existence of the conspiracy. That doesn't appear to be an issue anymore. It also doesn't appear to be an issue that these are the types of statements that would be allowed under that rule. So the Angela's statements about these shoes, again, she denies that she bought them for the purpose of the murder. She said that she threw them away. So her denials, again, are part of trying to throw the investigation off, trying to cover up the object of the conspiracy. So they fall squarely within what would be allowed under the rule. We'd be allowed to play.
Judge, the state wants it both ways, don't they? You know, they want to play Angela's statement, but they don't want to play Jake's. Why is that? Why is that, Judge?
Well, I can't answer why it is, but I can answer that the state has some discretion in how they present their case. So if they don't wish to present evidence that would be admissible, that if they were to present it, that's their decision, it's the prosecutor's decision to make on that.
Understood, Judge, but we have a right to cross-examine and play evidence during we have a right as part of our cross-examination to, as we did with this agent on the stand here, and to provide a complete defense so things are not taken out of context, and so the jury has a complete understanding of what happened in this case, what the investigation was, what it revealed. They're hiding from something.
Did you have something else, Mr.?
Other than, Angela gave statements about what she did with the shoes, but I think unless they're saying it's inconsistent, or that they're saying that Angela's statement that I bought those shoes for my boys is wrong, that's consistent with their theme, and therefore that would not be in furtherance of the conspiracy. That statement then should be excluded.
Well, again, the court's going to, and we probably need to do this in the presence of the jury. You can renew your request at that point if you wish to. about playing the tape. The state objects. The court intends to sustain the objection. And you're still on cross, so you still have an opportunity to ask additional questions if you have any additional questions to ask.
Yeah, with respect to the objections, again, since we've argued the law and argued our positions, we don't need to go into speaking objections, we just make record.
Yeah, the court will incorporate those arguments that you've already made in making its ruling. But the jury this way understands that you've offered it, they have objected, and the court has.
I'm not sure if the court overruled my objection in regard to the one statement, I bought those shoes for my boys, because that's consistent with their theory. And therefore, that would not qualify as a co-conspirator statement, because it's not in furtherance of the conspiracy. Once a co-conspirator, and I'm not conceding there is a conspiracy, but once there is a co-conspirator comes forward with what they perceive, what the government perceives to be the truth, that's no longer in furtherance of the conspiracy. And so if she said, I bought those shoes for my boys, and if that's their case, that statement is not in furtherance of the conspiracy, and that statement should be stricken. I'm not sure if the court ruled on that specific request.
First of all, that would be ultimately end up being a weight argument. You know, it's our position that, again, the statement that she makes with respect to those shoes and what she did with those shoes, how she obtained those shoes, and her initial denial that she even bought them, are all part of the to cover up the conspiracy and their role in this conspiracy.
And all of those things we have no problem with. The one thing he has not mentioned is the one specific statement, who did you buy those shoes for? I bought those for my boys. That's their case. That statement alone, that one statement would not be in furtherance of the conspiracy. If that's their case, if that's who she bought them for, that statement cannot be in furtherance of the conspiracy.
The argument for that as well.
Your Honor, okay. A co-conspirator statement is in furtherance of the conspiracy. She's trying to conceal the crime. So she admits to buying them for the boys, but then says she threw them away. So that's very important to this case.
Yeah.
And so...
let me ask this, is this a statement that you'll be playing?
Yes.
And is it, was this statement taken, the evidence will show it was taken at what point in time?
Yes, at the border. Special Agent Thomasford took the statement, and there's a recording of it. So our intent was to play it. It's a little less than 2 hours. And again, her whole thing is the denial, saying the relationships are all hunky-dory, all the stuff that frankly George said and Jake said. They all said the same things.
Yes, this statement was given in a different room at the same exact time that Jake was given a statement.
And it's a co-conspirator, and the state is allowed to admit it into evidence.
And the state is also a party opponent. So
we're not a party opponent.
Is this an entire statement that you're going to be
Yes,
offering? The
Your
entire
Honor.
statement made up there at the border
Yes.
on May 21st, 27th?
Yes.
All right. Well, that's actually not in front of the court right now, but I wanted to, that helps a little bit for me to understand where you're going with that statement. But we're going to bring the jury up if counsel's ready. The defense
Your Honor,
can renew.
I just have one other thing. Yesterday, Mr. Parker questioned Agent Scheider regarding Jake's Crawford statement, which is court knows an off-record discussion is only allowed to be used for impeachment purposes. And again, it's another statement of a co-conspirator. So, again, it's just all premature. Once Jake takes the stand, they can use this information to impeach them, certainly. But it's improper to ask questions about proffers. Again,
it's absolutely relevant to their investigation. After this interview with Jake in Montana, which is a long interview, 5 hours or so, all right, they didn't arrest him at that time. They let him go with his family. The investigation continued for nearly 18 months. And then there was an indictment, and then it was in April of last year, 21, I believe, a long time later, Jake makes this proffer. So to say that the proffer is not relevant to his investigation, when he sat in on the proffer along with the prosecutors, asked questions, that absolutely is relevant. And it's misleading to present evidence that's completely inconsistent with Jake's proffer.
well, how about Angela's proffer, who said that it was relevant to the homicide? who said that Billy said, take that down because it's going to capture us coming and going.
We're talking about Jake at this point.
Well,
All right, and what about Jake saying that DVR burden had nothing to do with the murders? All right, and you presented it to the jury as if it did.
like I said, what did Angela Wagner say about it? You always ignore Angela Wagner's proffer.
No, I'm not ignoring Angels. I'm taking one witness at a time, and we're talking about Jake here.
All right, so we've hopped onto another witness's statement here, but are we ready for the jury to be brought up at this point?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Just one clarification. I know the state argued that there was some concession that there is a conspiracy. I just wanted the record to be clear that that concession was not made. And furthermore, the court denied that motion anyhow. So I just wanted the record to be clear that that was not unaddressed. And we're still demanding independent proof of the conspiracy.
We're not to that point yet. That witness isn't up here.
I guess I'm giving you a heads up.
Seated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, jury. Good to see you all here. Yesterday, when we concluded our day, Agent Scheider was on the witness stand. So I'm going to ask Agent Scheider if you'll occupy the witness chair. You're still there. The oath that was administered yesterday, this is continuous testimony, so that oath is still in effect today.
Understood.
You may have a seat there. The defense was cross-examining Officer Scheider, and you may resume your cross-examination this morning. I believe that you made a request that was pending before you.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Just a couple of questions. Yesterday, I believe we left off, we were at the Montana border, correct?
Yes.
All right, and you and another agent interviewed Jake Wagner at the border and recorded that, correct?
Yes.
While other agents interviewed other Wagner family members,
Correct.
All right. Judge, we would ask that the Jake Wagner interview from the Montana border be played now for the jury.
State's position.
The state would object to that, Your Honor.
All right. And the court will sustain the objection to that.
Given that ruling, Judge, we have no other questions.
Any redirect you have to state?
Yes, Your Honor, just briefly. Special Agent Scheider, I believe yesterday, one of the questions you were asked about was the recording devices that were placed in the vehicle that the Wagners arrived at and departed from the border, port of entry there in Montana. And you indicated that they were not very successful. Tell us, first of all, what you mean by that.
In two ways. Number one, as the, as the Wagners were released, we anticipated there would be conversation in that vehicle about the interviews that had just taken place, and there was not any.
We would object. let's let the jurors hear the best evidence. Let them hear the report, not just what the witnesses' interpretations of the report.
Your Honor, this is in direct response to Mr. Parker's question of Agent Scheider.
Well, I'm going to overrule the objection.
So there wasn't conversation like we expected as they exited the Border Patrol facility and arrived in their vehicle. So lack of conversation. And then once the vehicle got on the roadway, road noise prohibited from being able to hear anything with any kind of clarity.
Okay. And was there some period of time where they were stationary, where you could hear conversations that were occurring, they just weren't anything pertinent to the investigation?
Correct.
Overruled.
But then you indicated once the vehicle was moving on the highway, then it was difficult to hear anything that was being said.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Due to road noise.
Okay. I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Additional cross?
No, thank you.
You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
State may call its next witness.
Your Honor, the state would call Special Agent Jenny Thomasford to the stand.
Oh. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer unto God?
I do.
Please be seated. The state may examine it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, I'm well. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. Can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Jennifer Thomasford, Commisford.
And Ms. Thomasford, can you tell us where you are employed?
I'm employed at the Ohio Attorney General's office. I'm a special agent with Ohio BCI.
And what is your current assignment?
I am currently assigned to the Environmental Enforcement Unit within BCI.
And how long have you been in the Environmental Enforcement Unit?
Approximately 2 years.
And prior to that, what was your assignment?
I was assigned to the Special Investigations Unit in BCI in southeastern Ohio, and I was there for roughly 6 years.
And can you tell us what your duties were when you were in the Special Investigations Unit with BCI?
Sure. We assisted local law enforcement in conducting criminal investigations, anything ranging from homicides and question deaths to sexual assault, public corruption, and even voter fraud.
Okay. And you indicated you were in that position for approximately 6 years, correct?
Yes.
And how long have you been with BCI in total?
Roughly 8 years.
Okay. And can you tell us what you did prior to coming to BCI?
Sure. I spent 3 years as a special agent at the Ohio Attorney General's office in their healthcare fraud section. And prior to that, I was a Columbus police officer for 6 years.
And what were your duties as a police officer with the Columbus Police Department?
Primarily routine patrol, responding to calls for service, conducting traffic stops, taking reports, effecting arrests. And I also did a short stint with one of our investigative units.
Okay. And can you tell us what your background is, what education you have?
I graduated from Ohio State with a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminology, and I've done other, obviously, assorted trainings through my law enforcement career.
Okay. Certified as a police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And received ongoing training once you were employed at BCI, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Relevant to investigations, et cetera?
yes.
Were you in the role of a BCI agent or a special agent in the SIU unit in 2016?
Yes,
Can you tell us, in April of 2016, were you one of the special agents that got assigned to investigate the Rhoden homicides?
yes.
And can you tell us what was the extent of your involvement? And I guess maybe we'll just start with the first day, if you can recall how you first became involved.
Okay. We were notified that the request was made for BCI to assist Pike County in the investigation. Initially, when I responded, I believe I responded to the Piketon Police Department, where most of the law enforcement personnel was staging. Spent some time there. From there, I believe I went to scene 1, which was Christopher Rhoden Sr.'s residence. Was there for some time. And then at some point, I went to the Pike County Sheriff's Office and conducted some interviews that day.
Okay. When you went to scene 1, did you enter the scene, or what was the status of that at that time?
When we initially responded, we were still, I believe, waiting on search warrants, so we were in sort of a standby mode at that time until those were processed.
Okay. So you didn't enter the scene on that day?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And can you tell us, did you ultimately become one of the primary agents who traveled back and forth to Pike County on a daily basis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you have an idea for approximately how long that kind of level of activity occurred?
I couldn't say exactly, but it was several months that we
Okay.
were consistently traveling to and from Pike County.
Okay. And would there be daily briefings on the case?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us what some of the tasks that you completed in this were as far as your daily travelings to Pike County?
Sure. Conducted numerous interviews. Obviously, we did a lot of report writing based on those interviews. I participated in following up on tip information that we received. Participated in search warrants. I traveled to Montana with a group of investigators to conduct interviews. I also traveled to Virginia to conduct an interview as well.
Okay. And did some of your interviews include interviews with inmates?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us additionally, Agent Thomasford, if you were involved in any search warrants conducted in this case?
I was.
And specifically, were you involved in a search warrant at Peterson Road?
Yes.
And were you also involved in a search warrant at State Route 41?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were you aware of the evidence that was recovered at both of those locations, both Peterson Road and State Route 41?
Yes.
Okay. So you were aware of ballistic evidence and Walmart receipt and shoe evidence that was recovered there, along with other items, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You indicated that you traveled to the Montana border. Can you tell us, was that after the search warrants had been conducted at Peterson Road and State Route 41, and then also the Flying W?
Yes.
And were you present for the search warrant at the Flying W?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And can you tell us what was the purpose of traveling to the Montana border?
To conduct interviews on the Wagner family.
Okay. And were you one of the agents that was assigned to conduct an interview of one of those, one of the members of the Wagner family?
Yes, ma'am.
And who were you assigned to interview?
Angela Wagner.
And was there any other agent that was assigned to interview her along with you?
Yes, a BCI Special Agent Rick Ward, W-A-R-D.
And can you tell us, prior to going to the border, first of all, was Montana your first destination?
No,
What was your first destination?
North Dakota.
Okay, and what happened there?
Once we landed, we received information that the Wagners would not be coming through the North Dakota port of entry, but the Montana port of entry from Canada.
Okay. So what did you do at that point?
Got back on the plane and flew to Montana.
And can you tell us, prior to going to Montana, did the CIU analysts put together pieces of information for you to use during your interview?
They did.
Okay. And can you tell us what sorts of things were in that, that they provided to you?
Yeah, essentially we received a variety of documents to include custody and guardianship documents, as well as evidentiary documents pertaining to the shoe print impression, as well as the ballistics and the firearms evidence. Also in that packet of information was photographs of Angela Wagner at the Walmart in early April of 2016 and a receipt for the purchase of the shoes.
Okay. And can you tell us what the expectation was or what the purpose of providing you that information was?
Essentially to confront or to question Angela Wagner regarding that information.
Okay. And did you have discretion over how you did that or the manner in which you did that?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us, was the interview that you, or I moved ahead of myself, did the Wagners actually arrive at the port of entry in Sweetgrass, Montana?
They did.
Okay. And can you tell us how that was handled when they first arrived, how they were placed into various rooms?
Personnel with the Border Patrol placed each of the Wagners in individual rooms, and then they proceeded with their course of business, whatever that was going to be. And then from there, we were to enter the rooms and conduct the interviews or attempt to do so.
Okay. And can you tell us, did you consider this a custodial interview?
We treated it as a custodial interview.
Okay. And so I guess if you could tell us what a custodial interview is.
Essentially, that the individual that's being interviewed is not free to leave.
Okay. And in this situation, were they technically free to leave if they chose to do so?
Overruled.
They were free to ask to leave the room that they were in speaking with us, but I do not believe they were free to leave until the Border Patrol was completed with their tasks.
Okay. And as such, you said you treated it like a custodial interview. Tell us what that means.
We treated it as a custodial interview in that we Mirandized Angela Wagner because we treated it as though she was in custody, not free to leave, and that she was being interrogated. So we read her Miranda rights.
Okay. And can you just give us a brief summation of what Miranda rights are?
Basically informing the individual being interviewed that the interview that they participate in or consent to participating in is completely voluntary, that they have a right to speak to an attorney before answering any questions, that if they do decide and consent to interview, that they can stop the interview at any time and ask to leave at any time.
Okay. And are they also told that anything that they say can and will be used against them in a court of law?
Yes.
Okay. And then when you present that to anybody that you're interviewing, they either sign to consent to be interviewed knowing that they're waiving those rights, or they decline, correct? Okay. And you have to respect whatever they choose, correct?
Right.
Okay. And can you tell us, was Ms. Wagner placed in a room there at the facility at the port of entry in Sweetgrass, Montana?
Yes,
And did you and Agent Ward conduct an interview of her?
we did.
And was that interview recorded?
Yes.
Okay. And did Ms. Wagner consent to be interviewed?
She did.
Okay. And is that consent also captured on the recording?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would request to play the recording of Special Agent Thomasford's interview with Angela Wagner at the Montana border.
Any objection? We're permitted to be played.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before we start playing, Agent Thomasford, I'm going to just have the interview played in its entirety.
Okay.
So if you can listen to it, and then at the end of that, I will have some questions for you.
Sure.
Okay? Thank you.
We'll be back.
I know. I'll just tell you, just if they oppose it, I'm not comfortable with leaving them.
I don't
I've
blame
never
you.
left them with anybody, so.
I understand.
Angela, this is Jenny Thomasford, and I'm
Hi.
Rick Ward, Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation.
Oh, so BCI, is this where it's just like,
Actually, we have no control
Oh, okay.
over the border patrol people, that's federal. But the reason we're here is obviously, okay, dealing with all that noise going down in Pike County, and that's the reason we came up here to get away from all that,
okay.
okay?
Tracy, the media is all over it, so.
Have you been following any of that?
Of course, yep.
That crazy?
Am I mad? Absolutely. I am severely mad.
At the media, or
I'm a little bit mad at several
everybody?
people.
Not us, I hope.
Not you two particularly. Hopefully
not
you. You
involved.
haven't
Yeah,
lied to me yet, so.
No, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of it going on down there, because I haven't been involved, you know, like from the get-go, so
Right.
a lot of it, we just don't know. But I do want to talk to you a little bit today,
That's good.
and I appreciate it. And the reason I wanted to tell you the decision was made, you know, we just want to get away from down there and talk to you outside of the state of Ohio and Pike County.
That's
I think it would be best for everybody.
Now, are you a supervisor, or are you just?
No, I'm not a supervisor.
We're just agents.
Just agents, you know, they're asked to do our job, so.
Okay, that's fine.
I have some personal questions for you, though.
Sure.
How was Alaska?
Oh, we love it.
What, the reason I ask is I've always wanted to go, and,
You should.
and I just doesn't, I know it's really rural and country, so I was just curious what the weather was like, how the roads
It is,
were,
but there's some, bigger cities, just like every place.
like Fairbanks and.
Fairbanks, Wasilla, Anchorage.
Like a Columbus, Cincinnati type, all the same garbage there.
Same thing.
The pictures do look pretty in Alaska. Oh, I thought it was
It's nice,
beautiful.
it's nice, there's no humidity, 50 some.
What was the weather up there?
50 some degrees.
Even during the day, what was it at night, though?
It's a little colder. I don't know exactly what it was, but yeah, you gotta have sweatshirts and blankets.
Yeah.
And that type of thing, but.
Where'd you go there? I mean, any place decent, touristy, any place decent?
No, actually, we went, of course, we took the kids, to the Sea Life Center, Wildlife Conservation, all
Oh,
that.
yeah, that's
But,
center, middle of the state.
Seward, well, we go to South Alton. Well, Seward, see, when we was up here in 2007, we went to Seward. That's
I
where we
don't
went.
know where that's at.
It's the Kenai Peninsula.
Okay.
It's a little
Yeah,
right. And their
I think I know where
weather,
that's
their
at.
weather's not much different than like Ohio. They get a little more snow.
Oh, that's
but
not so
they-
bad then.
They don't have no humidity. They
Yeah, but
have
see, I was
down
told
there,
the bugs are real bad there.
mosquitoes, but they're not that bad.
Okay, so where is it that it stays dark 6 months out of the year and then light
That's
there is?
Florida.
That's way up north?
Right.
Okay.
Or Fairbanks, like Fairbanks, when summer starts, I think it's the 18th of May, and you get 122 days, what they call just daylight.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not daylight, it just, like if there was a full moon out at night.
Yeah.
I've never seen it like, obviously sleep only comes through, but I've never seen it like that.
You guys drive, how long did you guys drive? I mean, without stopping, what's the longest you drove
Oh, no,
without
just
stopping?
through Canada.
Just through Canada, what was that like? Was that rural, or was it like regular highways?
Nothing from miles.
Just
pretty
flat,
rural.
like Ohio?
3-year-olds, they gotta go to the bathroom every 5 seconds, and there's no bathroom, and you don't know
2
where.
3-year-olds?
Yeah, they're both 3.
I have a 2-year-old son, and he's In diapers still, but already it's
Well,
starting.
Wagner he'll be 4 in July, but, you know, he's still 3. They're 4 months apart.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
Sophie, she's won't be 3 until November, so
Okay.
they're 3-year-olds.
right,
Even
right.
they want to stop every 5 seconds. And you
Uh-huh.
got them in the car, when you get them out there, like, you know,
Now, the longest I've ever traveled with my kids was like 12 hours.
That's a lot.
But that's stopping in the middle. And I can't even imagine going.
Keeping them
the distance
entertained.
you went.
Oh, no, it was hard. I mean, it wasn't hard, but, you know, it was, oh my gosh, at the end of the day, you're just wore out. You
Mhm.
answered all these questions, the TV has ran, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
It's almost like you don't do anything physical, but mentally you just can't take anymore.
You're,
Yes.
What do you mean the TV with all the garbage going on down there?
no, their TV.
Oh, you have that.
DVD player?
Hell.
Yes.
I don't think you could travel without that. I don't know how
So
people could.
how many kid shows have you watched in the last, or heard, or listened to?
Oh, let's see, we watched Trolls in the last, oh my gosh, it's like the 9th of May, we left that night, so we watched Trolls probably 25 times, and you know all the songs.
So let's see,
Oh, yes,
so
you do.
3-year-olds, are they into like any like regular TV, like Max and Ruby? Is any of that stuff still on, or Dora, or?
No, there is
Stuff all gone.
Patrol.
And,
How about like Octonauts, is that still around?
they like that,
Yeah,
but not
my
as
son loved
much.
it.
Mickey Mouse and Mickey House.
As well. Paw Patrol, Clubhouse, and Shrek. My son loves
Yeah,
Shrek.
Shrek, they like Shrek, Ice Age.
Ice Age, yeah. What's they probably a little too young for like Despicable Me and Hotel
Well,
Transylvania.
they've watched them, they don't, you know, like.
They don't really get that.
Well, mine loves dinosaurs, so you know.
Yeah.
they love dinosaurs. I have
Is
watched
Bob the
them.
Builder still popular? Okay.
My son loves Hotel Transylvania. Mama, monster.
Yeah, but they don't pick up on the little innuendo.
No, which is nice for adults because like Shrek and Hotel Transylvania, adults can watch too and enjoy.
Right.
Something for us too.
Right.
It's nice.
Well, Angela, the reason we're here, we want, like I said, we want to get you guys away from Pike County because we're worried about what's going on down there. The media is all over the place, and I know you're a little disturbed. We had no part in that stuff, so we want to talk to you maybe just a fresh perspective on things, okay?
That's the way.
But this is the thing, you're being patted down and you know, they're asking you questions because you're coming from Canada to the United States. I have to, because you're in this room and you're at the border, have to read you Miranda rights. Do you have a problem with that?
No.
That's just saying you don't have the right, you have the right not to talk to me,
Okay.
okay? And if you get uncomfortable at any point in time, you can shut me down and tell me to go away, all right? All right, Ross, God, you might go.
We're not gonna skip her.
These are the standard forms. Before you ask any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, you have the right to talk. Only for you, just for any questions. I can answer questions now, but I believe Give a second, listen to my voice, just tell me to go. And if you would, do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Do me a favor, Angela, would you just sign date and put the time right there? Will I put the little X? Did you get some sleep in the car?
Yeah, as much as I always get.
I never was able to get at
When
least.
is it, 21st?
Yes,
It is.
correct.
And it is 10:10 a.m. currently.
That's mountain time. And would you read that part out loud for me? That's just.
I have read this statement of my rights, and it has been read to me, and I understand what my rights are. I'm willing to make a statement and answer questions. I do not want a lawyer at this time. I understand and know what I am doing. No promises or threats have been made to me. No pressure or coercion of any kind has been used against me. I hereby voluntarily and intentionally waive my right and am willing to make a statement and answer questions. Sign.
Yeah, same thing, right there, please, and I'll witness that later. Thanks, Angela, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Okay, so you hear all this noise going on back home. What's your take on all this? And what your assessment of it?
Which part are you wanting to know?
Okay, so I want to get into your relationship with the Rhoden family. Could you discuss that? Again, I'm coming into this, act like you've had to, and I know this is dragging up a bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
but just act like, because I don't know.
You don't know anything, okay. Here's the thing, the relationship I had with the Rhodens was through Hanna. Hanna and my son Jake were together for 5 years.
Were they married?
No.
Okay,
Did they intend on getting married? Yes.
Okay.
They had a wedding planned, everything was planned out for that August.
for what,
The
August?
previous, before it happened, August before.
Okay, so,
August of 15.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, we had planned, when we were gonna plant sunflowers and for the walkthrough, it was all planned out. She had everything organized, everything ready. And, I don't know, then she wanted a break. And she took a break and
like when you say break, like who did she relay that to?
to my son.
To your son Jake? Okay.
Yeah.
How did he take it?
Well, it was hurt.
Of course.
Jake, she was the love of his life.
Right.
I mean, my son doesn't take anything lightly.
Mhm.
Everything is just like with Sophie, he's the best dad, that he could be. I mean, he does the best he can, but he was hurt. He was devastated for a while, but they stayed best friends.
Right.
She talked to him all the time, he talked to her.
That's nice for Sophie.
It is, and that's the one thing that they did. Everything was for Sophie. She breastfed for the longest time.
Which is
with
good.
Sophie, she did. She didn't take anything, didn't do anything out of the ordinary. She wasn't supposed to, for Sophie. She wouldn't even eat spicy food or,
Oh.
anything. And Sophie was a child. I mean, my gosh, she was a child. But she was a baby. But Sophie was born with a, what do they call that? I forget what they call it, but the flap in your,
Oh,
right
it
here.
sticks,
Well,
right?
it was too big, the little flap where you breathe right in here, and it would, she would stop breathing in the middle of the night, literally just stop breathing.
It's
And
horrifying.
if you knew she was okay, it sounded like she was snoring when she was sleeping, so as long as you heard the snoring, you know she was okay, but when the snoring would stop, you would know that at that moment, she stopped breathing. So they did a bunch of tests on her and everything, and she had to have surgery when she was, I don't know, maybe 6 months old, something like that.
Ugh.
And that's tragic enough.
How can you sit through a surgery of a 6 month?
It was hard.
I'd be-
They both cried. We all cried.
I'd be mortified.
Even Bullvine, he was just a baby, and she was on that side of the glass door, and she had her little IVs in and stuff, and he was on this side, and they were kissing each other. I mean, they've always been close, It was sad. It was.
It's so nice that they're so close in age, too.
And,
Yeah.
so, they went through a lot in the beginning with Sophie. I mean, it was trips to Cincinnati Children's Hospital almost every single month, and getting her tested and checked, and, I mean, it was a lot
It's
going
rough.
on.
It's a lot of stress.
But Sophie didn't have it as bad as most. Some kids had to have feeding tubes and stuff, is how bad, so she didn't.
So when this, how old's Sophie now?
3.
Okay, were they together when this happened? Was,
The surgery and everything?
yeah, was Jake
Yeah.
and, okay.
Yeah, it's only been a year
It's only been a year?
since the incident happened,
Right, I
So
know.
Sophie was 2.5, I think, and she had that when she was like 6 months.
Yeah, but my question was, they were together though, right? Okay, did they live together or did they did?
Well, when Sophie was born, she lived down in Jake drove truck. We had our own cattle truck, cattle
Okay.
pot, semi.
Mhm.
So my husband would go out with one of the sons. They'd stay out for like a week, and they'd come back in and they would switch.
Okay.
So, because Hanna and Jake wasn't married, she would go stay with her family when Jake was out,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd take Sophie.
Okay.
And then, of course, we could always call, and talk to Sophie, or if we were going past there, we could stop and talk or to her or something.
Okay.
It's no big deal. But she would go stay with her family. Then she would come back when Jake would come home.
Okay.
So it's the
And
same.
this is early on, right? Okay.
Yeah.
How long were they together? Okay, so they were together for a little, how long would you say they were together before Sophie was born?
Well, it's 5 years altogether.
So, okay.
When did they split up?
Like how long before Sophie was born or,
Oh,
I mean,
no.
how long after she was born is what I meant to say.
It was maybe 6 months.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe before the incident
Okay,
that they split
6
up.
months before the incident
Yes.
last year? Okay.
Yes.
okay.
Because I know, let's see. Yeah, probably about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know why Hannah wanted a break?
You know what, I don't know. I know that Hannah was real young when
Mhm.
her and Jake got together. And
What's the age difference between the two?
Hannah was 13 and my son was 17.
Okay,
16 and a half, something like that.
Okay.
okay.
I still remember the first day they met. You know, we was at the fair and she had a rabbit. God, Sophie's just like her too. And we had a rabbit and she looked at Jake and she's like, "You want to pet my rabbit?" I still remember it. Yeah. Sometimes Sophie looks just like her. She makes the faces that she does and stuff. But anyway,
That's gotta be tough.
well, you know, Hannah called me mom. And, yeah, it's hard. And then when I try not to think about it. Because if I don't think about it, I don't get upset in front of them. That's what I try not to do, you know.
Right.
But it's really hard, you know, when Sophie, like when we was on this trip, Sophie says, we went in the South all night, we passed this little campground, and Sophie says, "There's my mommy and my nana." And I said, "Where, honey?" Because, you know, we always talk to her in her heart, and she doesn't know the full aspect of her.
Okay, right.
And she says, "They're over there, they're camping, they come with us." You know, and I mean, and I let her talk, and I let her explain things, or she gets her toy phone and she'll call her mommy, you know, on her toy phone, and it's always her mommy and her nana.
So she still has pretty good memories then.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is, like, especially Dana, that's her nana.
Okay.
She would, like on the weekends, you know, she would take Sophie somewhere, or Sophie and Brentley. She always had them, you know, and she would take them shopping or out to eat or somewhere to the zoo, or, you know, that's what she did on her days off. And
Okay.
so, you know, and so she was real close.
So your relationship with Hannah was good?
It was. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I kept trying to explain this to Ryan and Jonathan. We had a typical mother-daughter relationship. You know, she was a teenager. I mean, we had...
Some frustration.
Well, when she first started hanging out, I thought she was a spoiled brat. I mean, not that I have sons and I thought she wasn't good enough. I mean, you know, but I thought she was a spoiled brat because she really was. I mean, no offense, but she was. She was 13. Her dad let her get away with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, she would just, if you'd say, you know, like it'd be raining, and she'd go outside and she'd always bring her friends over, and they'd run out. We lived on a farm. She'd run out there and get mud from head to toe, and then she just want to come in the house and plop down. And you know, we live on a farm, but you know, get your butt outside and you know, get the mud. And oh my, she would give me looks, and she would snarl, and she would tell Jake I was being mean, and you know, but that's typical teenage
Yeah,
stuff.
well, typical. Sometimes mother-in-laws can tell.
The mother-in-laws are the worst, of course.
Right, that's an easy
Yes.
scapegoats.
Yep, yeah, that's my poor mother-in-law. Now I think, oh my gosh, that was horrible, you know, but,
So this is the insight I want from you. So now, and I'm trying to get as much knowledge about the Rhoden family as I possibly can. Okay, anytime you have people that have been, you know, if you want to call them victims of a crime, then you want to get to know what intimate details about the family possibly can.
right.
And in this case, when you have people that are very tight-knit, you know what I mean, families that keep really close together, it's kind of difficult to, you know, get into that circle and basically
Right.
find out what's going on. So, I mean, we obviously know Hannah, when she separated from Jake, had some other relationships, had another
Right here,
child.
yes. Mhm.
So how did that go? I mean, and I know I'm asking obvious questions, but I
Did
don't know.
my son get mad?
Yeah. Did he get mad? What was your reaction? What was his
No.
reaction?
No, Jake, because by that point, when he found out, okay, that there is a long time, he didn't even know
That she was
that
what?
she had boyfriends.
Okay.
He didn't, because, I mean, she would call him up or text him or talk to him or something and want, you know, they would talk about Sophie and they would talk about getting back together, you know, and he worked and went on and Sophie on his week. And, you know, Jake had Sophie before they broke up and she moved out.
Okay.
she started going places with her mom. And like, she would leave Sophie, because, Jake wasn't working. So they had made the arrangement that when Jake was home, he wasn't saying, hey, you can't take Sophie, she's my daughter, not yours. It was just when he was home and not out on the road, he wanted to spend time with Sophie.
Which is understandable.
Okay, so if she went somewhere with her mom or something like that, he would say, they see her all this week over here, I want to see her, so if you have to go do something or you want to go do something, just leave her here with me. Because, she was already not breastfeeding by that time.
Well, that makes sense.
Well, she started going. She would go with her mom and stay going all day. She would leave early in the morning.
And Sophie would be with
us.
with
Yeah,
you guys.
at the house, right. And, but then, later on as time passed, he found out that apparently she wasn't with her mom. Because a couple times, Sophie got sick, and we tried to find her, and, we thought she was with Dana, so.
And Dana's home without.
And Dana's like, I know nothing about that.
Right.
So, she must have been somewhere. But,
Right.
she come home just fine, like nothing was wrong. So, but nothing ever came of it. And of course, I don't even remember that incident there. I think Dana later said that she was over at a cousin's house or something like that. But, by the time he found out that she really had all these other boyfriends along the way and stuff, after they broke up and stuff, they had already decided not to get back together.
So would you say he
So
wasn't
everything was about Sophie.
he wasn't as phased as he would have been if they were still,
Right.
So was his reaction what you would expect from anybody? Pretty
Yes. Yes, it was, but I'm
Measured.
not just taking up for my son, but
No,
I'm just
listen,
saying,
I
he
want to
wasn't
know
mad
everybody's
enough.
reaction.
He wasn't mad enough, or ever would he get mad enough to do something like that to his
Right.
women because of one thing. And it's that thing sitting in the
Right.
floor out there. He wouldn't do it because she loved her mommy. They had a super close relationship. He would never do that to her. To this day, everything is about Sophie. That's just the way it is, And as far as Dana and Chris and little Chris spent a ton of time at our house. Because in the beginning, if Hannah came, little Chris came.
Okay.
That was Daddy's rule. I don't know how it happened,
okay.
but that was Daddy's rule.
So Hannah was going to be there, little Chris was
like
going to
a
be there.
chaperone.
Kind of, that was the worst chaperone in the worst.
Probably.
He's even younger than Hannah, right?
Yeah. He's
Yes.
a little rambunctious.
And he was, oh my gosh, well, he was spoiled. Seriously, he was. Little Chris would, if he didn't get his way, he would lay down on the floor and start flopping around. And this is like, I'm talking like at 10, 12 years old. He'd start flopping around.
Really?
Yeah.
That's spoiled? At that age?
Way old enough to know better.
Yeah.
To do that.
They went fishing one night. I'm sure they'll tell you. I don't know the whole details, but they went fishing, and was on the way back. And it was the middle of the night. And he got mad about something and jumped out of the vehicle. Because
Whose vehicle?
they were going slow. Well, Jake's, because Jake, I think he was taking Hannah home or something. But anyway, they were turning in a road, so they were going
Okay.
slow. But, he gets out and he lays down in the middle of the road and starts having it fit. And I'm talking, he did this more than once to several different people.
And how old was he then? Still 11, 12 years old?
Yeah, that's
9, 10, something like that.
Yeah,
He would do the house.
That's ridiculous.
I never was, like bossy. I tried to always be something I thought my mother-in-law wasn't, but, I had stuff to do, and so they were always there, and, especially on the weekends, I'd be like, oh, let's do this or this, and he didn't want to one day. He didn't even want to help pick up trash. And then he laid down in my driveway and started having this fit. And I thought he got hurt. I'd never seen that before in an older
Did you ever see how Chris interacted with his dad? Were you around the interaction? How was he? Was it? Could you see the obvious effects of why he was spoiled?
Oh, they acted that way in front of Dad, but Dad, you didn't touch little Chris. You didn't say nothing
He was
about it.
the golden
If I
child.
said anything, I said stuff several times, because I just wasn't raised that way. I didn't act that way.
Now, are your parents still alive?
Yes.
They are? Okay.
And you just didn't do that, And if you said something to Chris, it was, hey, I acted that way when I was a kid. You don't like him, Hannah don't need to come either.
Oh.
So I'm stuck in the middle,
Okay.
So yeah, but Chris was a good kid, he just was spoiled.
Yeah, so what was the, what was your relationship like with Chris Sr., Hannah's dad?
I didn't really have one. I talked to him, when...
Out of necessity?
Well, I mean, if I see him, I said hi. I mean, you know,
Right,
him
right.
and my husband were friends.
Mhm.
And Chris and I, you know, I talked to him, he came over and ate dinner a couple times. It's not like I could have he got mad at me one time. And of course, you know, I wanted to make sure that was smoothed over for Jake and Hannah.
What did he get mad at you
When Hannah
about?
got pregnant by Jake,
Okay.
she wouldn't tell. And she went 4 months without going to the doctor, no checkups, no vitamins. She wouldn't tell. And I told her, I said, you've got to tell. You have to go to the doctor. She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't let me tell. She wouldn't let Jake tell. And she wouldn't find it one day. I said, this is it. That's my grandbaby. You're going to either go to the doctor and I'm going to take you, or you're going to tell or I'm going to tell. And
How
I
did they
said,
end up finding out?
You know what? I don't know, because I did take her.
Did you tell them?
No, I did take her to the doctor.
Well, good for you.
And I did get her to go, and she had her checkup and pregnancy tests, and they put her on vitamins. There was someone at the doctor's office that she knew, that worked there, and I don't know, by 2 days later, they knew.
Doesn't take
Because my
long for
son-
word to spread there either.
Because Jake, you know, he said, we're gonna tell, because, you know, he don't like hiding it. Like, he said, we're gonna tell. So he went, and Chris, you know, he was mad. And he said, I already know.
Well, I mean,
But-
who did he vent? Did he vent to you?
Oh, no, he wouldn't talk to me. He was mad at me.
Did he
But
vent
he was
to?
mad because I took her to the doctor.
Did he vent to anybody? Your husband? Did he vent to him?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
To solve another question for you real quick.
Sure.
The relationship my husband and him had,
Who's him?
Chris
Okay.
Senior, that I never got involved with. I
Okay.
The
never-
relationship between, and your husband's Billy, right? Okay. Your relationship between Billy and Chris
Mhm.
was you didn't have any involvement in that?
No, I did not get.
Well, I mean,
I
was there
did-
something odd about it, or was it just
No, I'm just-
guys being guys?
No, I mean, the thing, what I'm trying to say is, I knew they were friends. I knew they were best friends.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that he was at Chris's a lot, when he wasn't on the road and stuff, you know, and I know they hung out, and I know that Chris come, you know, down to the house and talked to him a couple times and stuff, you know, or he would come down and, want to borrow something, or,
Yeah.
you know, Jake went and worked a job for him on a house one time, just stuff like that, you know.
Did Jake or Billy ever get out of that lake and work with Chris?
No.
No, okay.
No, Jake helped him fix a rip in Pike. They're redoing a house in Pike
Mhm.
one time.
Okay.
Now, of course, the boys, they went to the lake a couple times, you know, one summer, they hung out down there for a little while, just moving
Mhm.
off, you know, like kids do, way before there were ever any babies, but no, I mean, I don't, because I know Ryan and Jonathan had asked me if I knowed, you know, their conversations and.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
stuff like that.
that's,
No, I don't know that.
Angela, you have to know, that's guys, that's detectives, investigators. just
Yeah,
doing-
well, I understand.
Just doing their job, you know,
Yeah.
they don't, I mean, when you get to something to this, you know, this
Right.
magnitude, you know, you have to ask those questions that nobody
Oh,
wants
yeah,
to.
but I will tell you this though, that tip that's out about him and my husband getting in a big fight,
Mhm.
the tip that Mr.
Yeah,
Manley supposedly.
yeah, like an argument in front of the house or something.
Yes, that Leonard is screaming. I know that I read that he is the one that is screaming this stuff, but those two would have never fought like that. They
No.
wouldn't have. They didn't have that.
They've been friends for a while, right? Did they grow up together?
I don't know about that. They
Okay.
didn't, not that
How
I
long,
know.
how long have you known Billy?
Since I was 14,
Okay, so you guys have been around each other for a really
Yeah.
long time. And how old are you now, Angel?
46,
Okay, so,
47.
Long time.
Yeah.
you're, you know, your teens and almost your entire
Right.
adult life.
Right.
And how old were you when you and Billy got married?
I was 20,
Okay.
and.
And did you have Jake first? Or George first? Okay, so it goes George and Jake.
Jake.
I got you.
Yeah.
So you and Billy were kind of, you guys separated. Did you guys ever get a divorce?
Mm-mm.
No? But you had some marital issues where you,
Not really marital issues, just, we don't see things the way we used to. It's not a, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love.
you didn't tell me you want to take a break, did you?
No, and he stays at his mom's, not because we're having marital issues.
Okay.
His dad is,
Is he sick?
his
Yeah.
dad's got like 3 months,
Oh,
if that.
oh.
What's wrong with him?
COPD.
Oh, was he a smoker?
Yeah, but he's got a whole bunch of, he's
Okay.
been beaten, battered by horses, and he's on blood thinners, and, you know, he can't get, someone's gotta help him in and out of bed, and if he falls out of the bed, then if you touch him, his skin just tears, and he's in really bad shape.
So is he kind of looking after him?
Yeah, because of that, he's actually been up there almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he comes to the house all the time and stuff, you know, he'll spend the night down there and stuff, and the kids love him to pieces, but, his brother comes down and helps, you know, sometimes with his dad and things, but, him and his dad, he loves his dad, and he was the baby.
Oh, yeah, I'm the baby, so, you know, it tells you how old
You
I
know,
am.
so, it's, like this trip, that's all he's talked about is I should have been there, you know, should have stayed home, and you know.
It's a hard situation to be in.
It is.
It really is.
What, so when Hanna gets pregnant with the other baby, with the other guy,
With Kylie.
yeah, how did that go over how did that go over, number one, with the other boyfriend or boyfriends and Jake?
Well, one, Jake never talked to the other boyfriends.
Okay.
The only time he talked to Charlie.
We're trying to get a feel for the other boyfriends.
Well,
too.
Charlie, so you know, Charlie is the dad to Kylie.
It's Charlie Gilley, right? Okay.
Now, actually, Jake, the only time he ever talked to Charlie was whenever they was in the courtroom and they were going to determine who DNA was.
Yeah.
That's the paternity test?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because, and the only reason Jake had one done was because Hanna had broke up with Charlie.
And they were-
Well, Charlie broke up with her, I don't know which one. She came down one night, you know, and I watched Sophie and they went, you know, and whatever, and thought, you know, I want to get back with you thing, and, you know, lasted about a week or so, and then she went back to Charlie, and, you know.
And how did, so was Jake, really in love with Hanna where he would take her back? You know, that type of,
You know what?
we've all been in those
I would
relationships.
think that he might have,
Mhm.
but then, I don't know, because there at last, he was over it. I mean, you know, he was, it had been a while, and he was over it, and like I said, they were just friends. But
Were
Hanna
they?
kept saying she didn't, even she told me, she had texted me, when she texted me about being pregnant, she was afraid I would be upset that
Were
she
you?
was pregnant again. I wasn't upset, no.
No,
I was upset when she left Jake, yeah.
of course.
And I was upset the
Nobody
fact
wants
that-
their kids in
Well, no, and I was upset about the fact that, you know, before she left, like I said, Hanna and I had a wonderful relationship as far as a mother and daughter could have,
Mhm.
you know.
How was your relationship with Dana?
We weren't best friends, but we were,
You didn't flip each other off though either,
no,
right?
no. I mean, she would come to the house and get Sophie, you know, when we would talk, even like Bullhorn out there, he called her, you know, Nana.
Did that bother you?
No,
Okay,
I
good.
don't care.
Okay.
I wanted them, you know, to give you an example, you know, when the babies were born, I was wanting to be called Nana, you know. Well, then Dana, you know, she was there first with Sophie because,
So what did he call you? If he's Nana, what were you?
well, see, George got sick. It was his turn out on the road, right, because Sophie was being born. Well, he got sick, well, I had to go. So I wasn't there when Sophie was born. It was all, you know, on pictures and everything, well, Nana, you know, I'm Nana. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So I went with Gammy.
Okay.
But it's not
So
Gammy.
cute, though.
It's not Gammy, it's Amity. Because they couldn't say Gammy.
Gammy's too hard.
So they made up their own name. So if you hear them say that, you know, my name's like in the car when they ask who Angela was, you know, both of them are like, it's Amity. You know?
And that's just stuck.
Yeah.
They called you that for so long.
Like, boy calls me Amity Mommy, and, because he's, you know, he's a little confused, and, so he calls me Amity, so.
Okay.
So you and Dana had a cordial relationship.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, we saw each other at Walmart, you know, we would talk, you know.
now, let me ask you this. Your relationship pre-breakup, what was it like with Dana?
Same thing.
Pre-breakup? Just amicable? You weren't drinking beers at the local bar together, but you
No,
were, but
that's
you
not
wouldn't,
that.
you wouldn't
That's
flip
not
each
even
other up.
me.
I'll just use it as an analogy.
No, that's, Dana
I mean,
would
you
say
didn't go
that.
drink coffee together, right? Do you drink coffee?
Yeah, but.
Okay, you didn't go sit and drink coffee with her for hours and talk about, your mutual.
No, we talked when she came to the house to pick up her drop off, and, we would talk like we see each other at Walmart, you know, or at the store, the gas station, something like that.
You don't avoid each other when you're out or anything.
So was your relationship this kind of, you know, innocuous, kind of, you know, cordial relationship? Well, did it stay the same after the
Yes,
breakup?
Even after.
So did you ever, so you never got into it with Hannah, like, what are you doing to my son, what are you doing, you get knocked up by another guy, and now you got another guy, and
I wouldn't even, I know, I
you wouldn't even, you wouldn't
never
even
said that to
entertain
Hannah, no, because I know, common sense, okay?
Mhm.
She's young, Hannah was pretty. She worked really hard after Sophie to lose a bunch of weight, and let her hair grow out and everything, and she'd never been that skinny before, and so, but Hannah's young, and if she wasn't gonna be with Jake, she's not gonna be a nun. I mean, that's not gonna happen, and
she's gonna have boyfriends.
she's gonna have a relationship, and young girls nowadays seems like they get pregnant constantly, but I didn't get mad over it.
Okay.
I mean, if you go through Hannah's text messages, you can see where she texted me. And I was like, Hannah, I even told her in there, I'm not upset. It's just not, I wasn't upset about it. She texted me, she talked to her about it when she'd come down. She'd stay, sometimes she'd pick Sophie up, she'd stay, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, sometimes when she wasn't working. And we would sit and we'd talk about the kids growing, or we'd talk about this, or, just stuff we used to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, I missed her when she left, because we were the upstairs people. It was our little joke, because my bedroom was upstairs and her and Jake's was upstairs.
Okay.
And when everyone went to sleep, me and Hannah couldn't sleep, because we were up with babies or something. We'd sit at the top of the stairs and, we'd talk. I mean,
No,
that's what we did.
that's what mother-in-laws and daughters and daughter-in-laws,
So, yeah, I mean,
we all experience that.
when she left, I mean, I missed that. We cooked together and, it was,
What was Billy's relationship with her?
with Hannah,
Yeah.
oh God, he loved that girl. He called her his brat, but he loved her, Even, I mean, that's what I always told Chris. I said, Chris, when I first met her, and she hung out there for a while and stuff, I said, Chris, even if they break up, she's still gonna be my daughter. Sorry, but you're gonna have to share. I told him that, because that's with Hannah. She was just that way.
Right.
I mean, she could be a smart aleck, and she could be a brat, and she could give you the most evil looks in the world.
But this, anytime you have your son with your friend's daughter, sometimes it could strain relationships. Did that strain a relationship with Chris and Billy, Chris Sr. and Billy?
Not that, I never seen it.
Okay.
The only thing I know is like if there was any complications at all, like Hannah wasn't keeping up her end of the bargain, like with Sophie coming over, or
Right,
holidays,
custody issues.
or like
Custody
on
issues.
holidays, like if like Mr. Manley and Judy, Leonard and Judy, they have their dinners 8 o'clock in the morning. That's their dinners for Christmas and Thanksgiving.
At 8 a.m.?
8 a.m.
That's bizarre.
8 a.m.
Okay.
That's when they
That's
have
weird.
it. And dinner's ready at 8 a.m.
Oh,
Okay?
okay.
If you get there like at 10, there's nothing left. But that's when they had it.
That's weird.
So, I know.
I'm sorry, I have to
I don't mean
say.
to be judgmental, but that's
Well, I don't know, Hannah used to say they wanted to get it over with and done. So they have it over and done by noon.
I like to savor my
Me
holiday.
too. Like, I like to extend it out as long as I can for that.
No, not them, it was early morning.
Okay.
So, when we tried to, when Jake and them tried to split up, it was, we tried to all accommodate around that, So she would get Sophie.
Would you split the
First half.
holidays
Yeah,
or
they-
split the day? You
Well,
split the day?
what they did, they would split it.
Okay,
The
that
day.
makes sense fair.
And the reason they did is because, my family lived like an hour or so away.
Okay.
And usually,
Where's your family from?
South Webster. It's on the other side of Portsmouth.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so not too far.
Yeah, it takes about an hour to get there.
Okay.
But from Eagles.
There's probably no direct road there, is there?
32, 23, and then, 104, and yeah, it takes a little while, but anyway. But anyway, that's what we did. So we tried to, she gets some of them in the morning, and then of evening, and sometimes, she would fuss about this or fuss about that, and Chris would always intervene. And he'd, say, Hannah, let's just keep it this way, don't change anything. Or sometimes they changed the day, like they did swap out on Thursdays. And then that messed up, Jake wasn't home sometimes, working. So they switched it to Fridays. And then sometimes.
So was Jake an over-the-road truck driver?
Yes,
Does he still do that?
no.
No, he just doesn't want to do it anymore, or
Well, no, see what happened was, Billy broke his back.
did not know that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, he went out one time, by himself and got pinned in a trailer by the house. And we didn't know it for a long time, and it broke his back. So,
So did he have surgery, or did he get
no,
on
he
pills? or-
just 6 months. He was, couldn't pick up anything heavy, and he wore like a brace around.
Yeah, I've seen that. When did that happen? When did he break his back?
A couple years ago.
Does he still suffer any ill effects from it?
Well, he hurts.
Is it like it's a constant hurt?
Yeah.
It's awful.
Can I check on him real quick?
I think I heard them go, I think they went to go get something to eat. I heard her say they were gonna run up and get something to eat.
There's a cafeteria 1 floor up, and they have snacks and
This
stuff
is
up there.
this is they're not, nothing's gonna, this is a federal facility that I.
Yes, I know, but I just don't.
It's part of their protocol, as it was explained to us, is like they'll keep an eye on the kids, and so it's not
Okay.
I'll
an issue.
listen for them.
Okay.
I have pretty good ears, so I'll listen for them. I heard them say you want something to drink, and
Okay,
I'm
well,
sure
they
they
probably are
upstairs.
hungry, but anyway, no, Jake doesn't do that anymore. But like I said, they switched to Fridays, and then Hannah wanted her weekends. It was one time it was messing up a weekend or something she wanted to do on a Friday, and wouldn't be back in time to do something, I don't know. So they changed it to Saturdays. And then when she started working.
So does that create a problem when they do that? When they
Well, no, I
switch
think
up the days?
it doesn't, because like I said, there at last, she started working, after she was pregnant, well, she went and got that job and everything. And Jake had her, well, she was real sick with Kylie, and Jake had her more, while she was pregnant than he ever had her before, because Sophie is very, very rambunctious, doesn't sleep a lot, and she takes a lot of energy. And Hannah was real sick.
That would make it really hard for her to try to
Well,
keep an eye on
She
her.
was unschooling, too, and she was doing her school stuff, and she was working, and she would call Jake several times and say, I haven't had no sleep, or I need to get a shower, and I need to get ready,
Let me ask you this, how was Hannah within her own family? How was her relationship with her mother and her father? We know that from what Jonathan and Ryan have told me, they have a complicated history.
They do.
And it's kind of tragic in a way, some of the stuff that I was told.
Well,
So
the tragic part, I don't know, as far as that goes. I know that Hannah and her mom, when I first met her, did not have a good relationship.
Well, why is that?
What I was told from Hannah herself was that when she was little, that her mom was always gone. She was always hanging out at a bar somewhere.
Out partying.
And Chris would have to leave the kids with whoever, Bobby Joe or whoever would watch them, and he'd have to go get her at the bars and all that. Well, that's what I was told by
Now,
him.
did you know Chris Sr.'s dad?
No.
No, you never met him?
I know the things that were said about him and stuff. What I've heard though is, it's all untrue. But I don't pry and that stuff. I never say, and with Hannah, she loved her grandpa. You wouldn't say nothing. You wouldn't say nothing to her bad about, it's the way she was, with family. I don't care if she didn't like her
Was
mom.
Chris and her dad and Hannah and her dad Chris, were they fairly close? They were?
Yeah, as far as I knew,
Now, what's your, I know you said that Chris and Billy, you didn't really get involved in their relationship or what they did.
Right.
Did you know the other members of the family? Did you know Kenneth?
I know them, yeah.
So
I met them. Okay, here's the thing. I know them, met them a couple times. Did I talk to them a lot? No.
Just see them around type of deal?
Yeah.
Or like at family functions?
Well, no, I didn't go to family function. I went to one
Okay.
4th of July party, and that was it for me.
Done?
I stayed a couple hours.
Pretty
and that
wild. Was that when they
was it
race
for
up and down
me.
the street?
A little too wild for
It
you.
was way too wild for me. They,
Okay.
and like Brentley, the one that I went to, Brentley was a baby. That's, Frankie and Chelsea's little boy.
Okay.
And he was just a baby, and they were shooting fireworks off around him, and cigarette smoke, and, all this stuff is around him. In his face, where he could breathe all this, and I'm not a party person anyway, and I just, it was enough. I stayed a couple hours.
Speaking of that, did you know the reputation of Hannah's new boyfriend? Did you know what?
Which one? Corey?
Yeah, Corey. Did you know his reputation?
You know what? I did not know anything about Corey.
Corey's last name?
Holdren.
Holdren, yeah. So did you know what he was all into and what he
I didn't know.
you didn't know any of that?
Not until Jake told me what Charlie said. Other than that, no, I didn't know.
What was that? What was said? What did he show us?
That he was, maybe it was a person told me. Somebody told him that he was into drugs, but I didn't know it. The only
You didn't
thing
know it at all?
I didn't know that he was into drugs.
Yeah,
No,
you
I
didn't
did
know
not
that?
know that. No.
Because as close as you are to Sophie, I'm sure you wouldn't want Sophie around that type of
No, I don't.
environment.
And rightfully so.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're not knocking you for it.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't like, that's the reason why I never did, you know, not saying I never did party, I did drink a little bit, you know, when I was in the Air Force and stuff, but as far as teenage years, you know, no.
You were in the Air Force?
Yes,
For how long?
year and a half,
Okay, where were you?
Florida,
Okay, at
Homestead,
Homestead Air Force Base. Did you go to Lackland for boot
in
camp?
Texas.
Yeah, Lackland Air Force Base.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep, and I got out because my mom and dad got divorced and my dad's disabled and,
So you got out on a hardship.
yes,
What was your job in the Air Force?
supply.
Okay.
It was supposed to have been to work in the, mission department, and then, you know, I
What year were you in?
88,
Okay.
89.
So you went in Reagan, right, when Reagan was still, right, Reagan was leaving and Bush?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you didn't really know Kenneth well, and,
No, I met Kenneth, I mean, I seen him at Chris's. Because, you know, I mean, when the kids were younger and stuff, I'd go over there, you know, and take Hannah home or pick Hannah up. Or when you take Sophie over, get Sophie or drop Sophie off or.
would you ever go to Dana's house?
Yeah, I've been to Dana's
The
house.
newer house?
No, never been to that one.
Never been
I
to
was
that
in the
one?
trailer that Frankie and Hazel lived in.
Right,
That
right.
one.
That's the one Dana moved out of when she moved to her new place.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, you've been in that trailer.
Mhm.
Were you ever in Chris's trailer
One time.
one time?
Mhm.
How long ago was that?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Let's see, when it was a year. 4 years ago.
Okay. Did you know what Chris Sr. and them and Gary and all them and Kenneth were into? Did you know what they were into?
I did not know about any of that. When I went there, he didn't even have the new garage when I went there. He just, you know, the new building that's at like.
Right,
garden
yeah,
area.
yeah.
He
I
didn't
think the
even have.
pictures you showed me, right?
It's a gray building.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah, it looks like almost like a pole barn type, like a big, do they
He
keep
was
dogs in
building-
there or something?
I don't know what they keep in there. He was,
Okay.
when he started it, he was building a new garage,
Okay.
is what I was told. Because they do all those derby cars and everything, and he was building a new
Oh,
garage.
that'll make sense then.
Yeah, but when I was there, that wasn't there. And his house trailer, I went in, because Billy had to stop by. And he wanted to borrow my little white trailer to go get fireworks with. And he always borrowed my trailer to go get fireworks with. It's the one that, I don't know if you guys did it or who, but someone confiscated my little white trailer. Well, anyway, Chris always borrowed it to do fireworks. He would go, you know, buy a whole bunch of fireworks.
It's a whole lot of fireworks they
Well,
have.
that's what he did. He would go buy them wholesale.
Okay.
And then he had them for his party, and then I think he took them to the lake for the big fireworks down there.
Oh, okay.
So he would get a whole trailer full of them.
Mhm.
Some of them, I think he would sell some to some people or something, I don't know, but they would set fireworks off like crazy out there at his party. So he would borrow my little trailer. He borrowed it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times maybe. But anyway, he stopped by because he wanted to know about the trailer. And,
Did you go inside or were you just
yeah.
outside?
Mhm. Yep, I did. And,
Who was all there
I
when
did
you
not
were
go
there?
back. Not because
You didn't like it?
I don't like sitting on a couch that has this much dog hair on it. No offense, his dogs, were great, you know, I mean, but no, I don't like sitting in dog hair.
I also do not like sitting in dog hair, so
My
it's no
husband
offense
does
to
not
me.
care about
Your
that
dogs?
stuff.
I have 2 dogs.
You know, my husband, he don't care about that, but, me, no. I don't, like to, so I just did not go back.
Whereas dogs, at least, I mean, friendly, you don't have to worry about anything like that.
No, you have to, okay, let's put it this way. If he's there,
Mhm.
you're okay.
Okay.
Now, Chance is pit bull, big lovey dog, sweet as he can be.
Oh.
As long as you know
They're home.
their home.
Okay.
Jake's gotten bit several times by chance. I mean, we're
Why is
lucky
that?
he didn't bite his butt off. I'm serious. Well, when him and Hannah was first together and everything, you know, one time he went there looking for Hannah and, you know, he didn't pay attention and he went up to knock on the door and Chance got him by the pants, but where Jake wears back his pants, he got the pants instead of his butt.
That's a good thing.
Jake ran
We
for
wore
his
that.
life and I mean, they were that way to him to I mean, even then, you know, at Chris's house, I mean, that's the way it was.
So when this incident occurs, where last April, so what were your initial thoughts?
I was horrified.
Right, but
Hannah had just been to my house. Let's see, wait a minute. That was on, what day was the 22nd on?
it was a
Friday.
Friday morning.
Right, she was there on, I think Wednesday.
For
I'm
what?
pretty sure it was to bring Kylie down. For us, because the DNA tests and stuff had not been done yet. And she wanted us to meet Kylie. So she was at the house that evening and she brought Kylie down and we all held Kylie, you know, and she was like this big.
Who was all there when she brought her down?
George, Jake, me, with your babies.
Okay, and was everything cool, or?
Yeah, she was making fun of Jake because he had tried to dye his hair a little darker brown and it turned out more black and she was making she was making fun of him, you know, about his hair and stuff, and no, we were, I mean, everything was fine. She, you know, she wanted us to see Kylie and stuff, and then Kylie, she was so tiny. I mean, Sophie wasn't big, but she was, so Kylie was tiny.
Okay. So she's not a preemie though, right?
No, she was just tiny, but like I said, Hannah was really sick.
So when this incident happened, how did you first find out about it?
The news.
Like in the morning, or?
You know what, I don't know. It was morning time, I know, because Billy was watching the news. And,
Were you guys together?
yeah,
Okay.
we've never been separated.
You've never lived in two different places?
Yeah, but not like a separation. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
I mean, you know,
I understand what you're saying.
like when we go home, he'll probably go to his mom's, and he'll probably stay at his mom's, you know, up there, maybe a day, maybe 2 days, maybe he'll come stay with me a day.
Especially considering Dad's sick and everything.
Right,
Yeah.
it's not that, hey, we're separated, you know, he moved over there and I live over here, it's not that kind of.
So where, do you
situation.
remember where you were when you heard about the incident?
I was in the kitchen,
Of what residence?
oh, the Peterson Road
Okay,
farmhouse.
okay.
Yeah, and I was in the kitchen doing something and I came in and something popped up. I was not paying attention. I was doing something with the kids and he started freaking out. And then we watched it.
Like how was he, tell me how he was freaking out. I mean, I just,
You know,
I
oh
don't
my
know,
gosh,
I don't
he was
know
done-
Billy, so.
He was on the, well, I can't do his thing he makes, but, you know, it was the, oh my gosh.
Right.
And then Jake, so anyway,
Was Jake there at the house too?
you know what? He went somewhere that morning, I think. I can't even remember the whole thing now. I think he went somewhere. I can't remember. Or was outside. I don't know. We were just all upset over it. But, I know when he went down to the hospital that day, and he was all upset. And he-
Hospital for,
When where they took the kids,
oh,
where April was.
okay.
I did want to make sure Kylie was okay. But it was devastating. I mean, my goodness,
Well,
because
did
then we were
you,
trying
I
to
mean,
hide.
did you hear of when the news broke, and I don't ever remember watching the news, I know some of the other agents did, but when the news broke, did it give detail about who or what, or, I mean, that being kind of a tight-knit community, meaning,
I don't.
your phone had to be blowing up.
I don't remember. Well, see, here's the thing. Like I said, I know all of those people up there. Okay? I know Hannah had a cousin here and a cousin there, and there's a cousin and a cousin and a cousin.
Right.
I know all that. Because everywhere you go with Hannah, that's, oh, you know, Walmart, 5 aisles, that's cousin of a cousin or a cousin, you know, hi, how you doing? That's the way it was.
Third cousin twice removed.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of Rhodens down there.
And they still talk. I mean, and if they haven't talked to somebody, you know, in 3 or 4 years, they still stop and talk to them, you know, and who are you? Well, you know, I'm such and such and such and such. And, oh, yeah, I know you, you know. That's how they were. but I did not talk to them enough for them to just call me, you know what I'm saying, and say, hey, this.
Yeah, but I mean, you have a blood connection now.
They
you know?
still don't do it.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about necessarily their relatives, but now the whole community knows something happened with the Rhoden family.
Right.
I mean, I guess my question to you is, were you getting details from
No,
anybody other than the news
No.
of what happened?
no, I wasn't. The only thing, like Jake, you know, a couple people called him, and that I asked him what was going on, but no, I didn't get any details.
What was Jake's response
Jake was devastated.
when
He was crying, he was upset.
was he home? So was he home when he heard the news? Were you guys all together when you heard the news?
He was outside. I don't know what he was doing.
Oh, that's right. You said he went somewhere.
Yeah, he went to do something that morning, I think, and he come back, him and George, and he was outside. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember too much. I mean.
He and George both outside together, like they weren't in the house with you and Billy when the news came on?
No, I went on, I was doing something with the kids, and then whenever I seen what was going on, of course, I took the kids out of the TV room.
Right, that makes sense.
And so that's where I always am with the kids. But, you know.
I can relate.
But no, I mean, I
Now,
don't.
George had a lesser connection.
My son?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to the family. I mean, he didn't, you know, so what was he home with you when all this broke loose on the news?
Well, George didn't, I mean, him and Frankie, you know, talked and stuff like that, you know. But he didn't have a big connection with them, no, it wasn't like a daily basis. or
Right,
anything
right,
like
right.
that.
It's not like that he has any children in common with, anyone over there.
I know I asked earlier about Kenneth. Were you ever at Kenneth's house? You ever been there? Did you know where Kenneth?
The only place I was, yeah, at the holler, that's what they call it, but the only place I was where the swimming pond is that Chris built. I think it's down by Brady's, maybe?
Brady Rhoden's house?
Yeah.
I think I did hear about they would go down there and swim in
Yes, they built
the
this
pond or
Chris built a
something.
big swimming pond in the, like, you know, you go from the woods, and he built a big swimming pond. I went down there one time.
I think I did hear about
I
that.
go swimming, this was before babies were born. We went down there one time.
Okay.
to swim. And the dog Brownie tried to eat us.
Is that Kenneth's dog then?
Brownie, yeah. She was tied to a chain, and oh my gosh, that dog, dap, 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 dap.
Do you think, when did you hear that the Chris and them were, and Kenneth were into some shady stuff? When did you
That
start?
wasn't until it came out on the news. I didn't know about that.
Did Billy know?
You know what, he says he did now, but at the time, he didn't tell me. That's why I said I didn't, because I
Is
didn't.
that why you
ask-
said you weren't really knowledgeable about their relationship?
Yeah, because see, I mean, he would come home and say, let's see, like, Chris is upset because, little Chris, he's doing this, or he got his driver's license and he's getting back, and Chris had to take the car away. I mean, he'd say stuff like that, or I saw Hanna up there today, and, Brat's, I'm like, well, how's she doing? Well, Brat's doing, I mean, that's what we would talk about. But as far as doing,
I think he was trying to maybe keep you sheltered to that so you didn't know about those sort of things.
could be, I don't know, we kind of, in the beginning, when we were first together, we told each other everything. Then when our kids were born, we still talked about stuff and things, but then I became more involved with the kids, and taking care of the kids, and then, I don't know, then when he started driving truck, we more distant,
Yeah, because he's away a lot.
Well, yeah, and he talks to people that, I don't know, and so he's kind of got a life out there, and I got a life at home, and.
Before you know it, you have basically two separate lives.
Right, and it's, we talk more about bills and that type of thing.
So what was your reaction to Billy when you found out that, he wasn't completely forthcoming about what I mean, now your son's with a girl, okay, that's, the daughter of these Rhoden family members.
Right.
Okay, you now have a granddaughter, which you seem to be, totally enamored with, which makes sense, that you love dearly, that's associated with this lifestyle over here. So, I mean, what was your reaction to Billy when you watch it at home, and you hear about these marijuana grows?
Well, here's the thing. Do I think that they should have done that? No, but, you know, they were, as far as what I could tell, they didn't make it like public to where if this hadn't
It
happened,
wasn't flaunted.
if this hadn't happened,
You'd never know.
nobody probably would have never known.
They kept the kids separated from that life.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
She would have never known. At this point now, I'm not mad at my husband for not telling me what was going on.
Why would he, do you think he had some involvement with it, or he just had knowledge?
No, but I do know that he probably didn't give him his opinion. This is his best friend, you know.
Like say,
He probably
you
sat
know
and
what?
listened. He probably didn't, I know he wouldn't have helped or anything like that, you know. I mean, that's not, but he wouldn't have done anything. You understand what I'm saying?
He would have participated in that.
No, but he also wouldn't have run down the street and said, hey, I know such and such has, you know, that he wouldn't have done that. But as far as now, like with Sophie, no, I don't want Sophie growing up. That's another reason we sold the farm. I mean, we intended on living there forever, but we sold the farm, moved. Whether we moved to Alaska or we moved 3 or 4 counties over is because I don't want Sophie growing up in an area where people are going to say, when she gets old enough to understand, your parents were killed, they were those, they were this, they were that, you know, because she has good memories. I don't want that spoiled. It's gonna be bad enough when she becomes a teenager, and you know, Facebook.
And starts asking questions.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you live.
And start, you know, and starts looking stuff up, and, you know, I don't, and unfortunately, I got nothing against her. April and them out there don't know not to just blurt out, your mother was killed. And taking her to parties and stuff like that is a chore, because you have to watch and remind them, hey, don't say, you know, this happened, because we're scared to death one of them is gonna scream it. And then she's gonna ask questions. I mean, it's
Things you shouldn't have to worry about
you
people
know,
saying.
The thing is, even like on our farm, I had to really watch there for a while. You know, like the duck died. I couldn't say, well, you know, that duck got killed or that duck died, now it's in heaven, because we tell her mom's in heaven visiting, and you know, she's in her heart, and you know, when she gets older, we'll explain, because I'm afraid she'll put that together. She's very smart.
So Angela, I want to get back to the day of the incident when you're home,
Okay.
and it's on the news, and that's where you're getting your details from. Do you get more details as the day emerges, as the day proceeds, or do more details emerge?
We got more on the news, and then of course, you know, like I said, Jake went up to the hospital, and we wasn't,
Who did he-
you know,
who did he
at
meet
first
up
we
there?
wasn't sure whether or not, you know, it was some or all or what had happened, you know. But Jake went up, and he went to check on Kylie, but they wouldn't let him in. And so he talked to Aunt April for a little bit, and then he came back. And then he talked to Chelsea that day, and he talked to Andrew Carson.
Did you go to the hospital?
No,
Okay, did you go
I
out?
stayed there with Sophie.
Did you go to the scene at all, or did Billy go to the scene?
I did not go.
Did Billy or Jake eventually go to the scene?
Now, but I don't know. That I don't know. I know George didn't go. And I don't think Billy went. I don't think he did. I know they went to the funeral, and I stayed home with the kids, because we didn't want to take them.
Who ended up going to the funeral from your family? Okay, Billy, George, and Jake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the word? What was the, I mean, for something like that to happen in such a small community, what was the word? What were
You know
people
what,
saying?
the only thing that we heard at first was that there was some black people up there and they had gotten into a fight. And that's the first thing that we had.
I remember hearing something about that.
Did you hear about that fight before this all happened? Like that Chris Jr. got into it with some black guys? Did you hear about that before this happened?
No, it was afterwards.
It was afterward?
And, but other than that, you know, here's the thing, I don't talk to a lot of people. I am preoccupied with the kids and I don't get out and talk to a lot of people. I have friends, but not the kind that, you know, I go do stuff with every day or chit chat with every day. It's just,
Pretty much your life's just
I
consumed
just
with the
don't do
kids.
that. Yeah, that's what I do. I did that with my kids, and, you know, of course, with my kids, I lived a mile off the road, so, and I had my dog kennel, and, you know,
Mhm.
business was always busy.
Right.
But, you know, so I really didn't know too much. I mean, I just what, you know, you hear on the news, or what you hear on Facebook, or stupid stuff you hear on topics. They have the most dumbest things on there I've ever seen.
I've just recently heard about topics. I had never heard about that before.
Oh, no.
So I went online to check it out, and I thought, this is crazy. It's crazy.
Some of the groups that they have, you know, on there, like, they have me as, I sold a fighter jet, and, I flew me and Billy to South America, and we had plastic surgery.
So you're a fighter pilot. That's pretty cool.
You know, you know, and because of the fact, you know, that when you go to Canada, we don't have internet service. So when we went up, it took us like 3 days, because we got a hotel. So for 3 days, we didn't post anything on Facebook. So apparently, you know, I skipped and I mean, that's the crazy stuff, you know.
Well, you know what people do. People are always looking for a story or something to think.
What were they saying, though? That you left town or
Oh, yeah,
South
because, you know,
America?
because we sold, because the
For what reason
newspaper,
would they say you
somehow the
left?
newspaper got it, you know, that we sold the farm for $165, and we gave $175 for it. Well, that's wrong, we sold it for $200.
Mhm.
And
Well, they're always wrong, so.
yeah, and, you know, and then, so that's wrong, we sold it for $200,000, you know, and then, they had it that, we had a chop shop in the barn, and that my trailer was a pickup truck that was, stolen, was used in, was sitting at Chris's or something like that. And, you know, and for the longest time, you know, after a couple of days, I kept thinking, what truck did they get out of the barn? We didn't even own the property. I mean, when they went down there, and when you guys searched, it wasn't ours. It belonged to the new owners. So, you know, I'm thinking.
Are you talking about the trailers that they searched, like recent?
The farm.
The actual farm itself?
Yeah.
Okay,
It wasn't
okay.
ours. When,
You had already sold it?
not you guys, but when the other.
No, I know, we got it.
Yeah, it wasn't ours. It was already
Yeah.
in Dwayne's name. But, and I kept thinking, what truck did they get out of that barn? I mean, there was nothing there except a little bit of stuff we left, you know, and I kept thinking, and then when I had my brother go out and get the list of everything that was taken at Bernie Brown's, and then Bernie had said,
Who's Bernie Brown?
the unlimited motors on State Route 41.
Okay.
His son owns that, but Bernie lives there. He's a good friend of ours. We haul cattle with Bernie.
Okay.
Actually, Bernie helped us get into the cattle hauling. He's a great guy. But anyway, he had told me they came about the trailer.
Right.
Then I talked to Ryan about it, because it wasn't on the
Yeah, what
list.
Ryan said about it?
Ryan said that they were checking to see
Oh, okay.
if it was stolen, because I ripped his butt, because I have the title, I just bought new tags for it. I've had that trailer for over 10
Why do you think
years.
they were searching the farm?
I have no idea. I have no idea. You tell me. You guys are BCI,
Well,
because here's the
I'm
thing.
just asking your opinion.
Here's the thing. They come down, okay? And they come down one day. This is probably, 2 or 3 weeks. Let's see, if you take vacation, maybe a month ago. They come down, they talk to Jake.
Okay.
And it's like at nap time, okay? And they show up, they didn't, you know, well, first, they said they wanted him to meet at the gas station. He couldn't because it was in Sophie's nap time. So they came down. Poor Sophie, she had Sophie time. And she, you know, probably made it hard on him, screaming for her daddy. But anyway, they talked to him forever and stuff, you know, and they said they wanted his phone. Well,
Okay.
it's not that Jake didn't want to hand his phone over, but Jake and George use their phones for their business. You know, they work on people's cars, or they.
So they didn't want to just hand them over?
Right, because, you know, Jake said, hey, if you get to that point, that you'd say, I gotta have your phone, you know, no exceptions, I have to have it, I'll give it to you, but for right now, I have to have it, which makes, I mean, Jake
Okay.
uses it.
You're using it for your business, I can understand that.
Usually, you know,
They were fine
they
with
spend a
it.
lot of phones though.
Well, they were fine with that, and, so then, you know, me and Jake was loading a trailer one day, putting the last little bit of stuff in the horse trailer, and, Brian came down, can't think, not Jonathan, and the another guy came with me, and he came down, and we were loading, you know, and he's asking me all these weird, like.
What did he look like? Was the other
You
gentleman?
know, about the same height as Ryan, a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And had, I forget what his name is, Jeffrey
Okay.
maybe, or
That's
something
fine.
like
That
that.
doesn't
But
matter.
anyway, and they was asking, you know, where we hauled cattle and just stuff like that.
So why do you think they want the phones? And I'm asking your opinion.
Oh, I don't know. Well, because they said, the cyber guy that came and got the phone with the search
You know that
warrant.
word, huh?
Mhm.
That's what we call ours.
That's what
Computer
that's what
guy.
he said he was.
That's what he referred to himself as cyber.
Yeah, that's what he said. You're right. But, and I was taking care of Bullvine during his nap time, and Sophie ran in the house, Ebony, there was a guy out here taking my daddy's phone, come and get him. You know, that's what happened, and she's still distraught over that phone being taken that day. So, you know, I went out there, and yeah, I wanted to know why they were back, and, you know, so he told me, so that's how I knew. But anyway,
Okay. So again, why do you think they searched the farm?
well, I don't know. According to Jonathan and Brian, they wanted the phones because they thought there was something on the phones that would give them information.
Okay.
And he said, you may not see it the way we will see it, so we
Mhm.
want to look at your phone. So, you know,
Makes sense.
so anyway, Jake gave him the phone, and of course, he had to go buy a new one because they said, email him all his passwords, but his email went to his phone. So he went and got a new one. But anyway, we gave him everything. Okay, this is the part I'm upset about.
Sure.
We gave them everything they needed. When we were packing that day, they watched us pack. They knew where the trailers were. I didn't have to tell them I took my trailers to Bernie Brown's. Trailers up to Bernie Brown's, we told them exactly what day we were leaving, when we planned on being back, the whole 9 yards, everything. New cell phone numbers, everything. I even called them all the way along this trip to tell them where I was.
Jonathan and Ryan.
Yes. And then, you know, we get halfway up the road and they're down there searching the farm, and then, I'm sorry, what they did to our stuff and our trailers is ridiculous.
What did they do?
Well, let's just put it this way, when I get home, I'm probably gonna have to pitch half of it in the trash.
Okay, what, did
That's
somebody
what
go look at it, or?
Well, I have pictures of it, and yes, I sent my brother over there
Okay.
to see what they did. And the biggest thing is, in those trailers was everything we had left that we owned.
Mm-hmm.
75% of it was Bullvine and Sophie's.
Okay.
Their stuff is her car seat that was sitting in, is a little Princess Cinderella car seat that was in Jake's truck, strapped in for her. And her diaper bag is now laying on the top of a pile of stuff in the bed of my son's truck with a diaper bag with her clothes strewn all over the yard. That's ridiculous, okay?
Well, and I don't want to defend.
But the thing is, they could have asked. All they had done was say, hey, they were there when we were loading.
Okay.
Hey, we want to search. Or, hey, you're moving. The 10th is your last day here. We want to search. I'd opened the door. Here you go. It's easy to search now in the house because there's nothing in here.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, search. I got nothing to hide. You want to see the trailers? Here's the thing. I said you can search them. You can go through every tub. I'll sit it out for you. They could have stood right there and watched
Right.
me. I'll sit it out. You search it. I'll put it back in. I'll take my vacation afterwards. I wasn't trying to hide anything. I told them when I was going, where I was going.
Right.
I called them when I got in Canada and told them what hotel I was in. And then, you know, and then all these
There's a
people
lot of
are-
stuff in those trailers, I mean, from what we were
And so
told.
happened.
Were you at the trail? You weren't at the trailers, I wasn't at the trail.
Yep.
But there was a lot of stuff in those trailers that you kept over the years, isn't that safe to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I sold half of it.
Okay. You sold half it before you left? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of stuff, you know.
Billy and Jake, and I don't know about George, but it seems like Billy and Jake are definitely into guns, right?
They all are.
Yeah, I mean, you live out in the country.
And they hunt.
And they hunt, but they like guns, right?
Not like they're obsessed with them, no.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
hunt.
Not putting words in your mouth. Do you,
So,
do
yeah,
you,
they
do
like
you like to
guns.
shoot?
I do, but no, I don't do it on a regular basis.
Right, most,
I have a bow, I have 2 guns.
right. What kind of gun do you like to shoot? Just a long gun? Do you like handguns? Do you like both? Do you
I
like,
don't.
you don't?
I have one just for protection.
What do you have? What do you-
22.
22s, okay. Do you also, Angela, do you like, when you being mom and grandma, do you shop a lot for the boys and Billy and pick up stuff for
I get the
them?
biggest part of it, yeah.
Okay, it's like what type of stuff would you buy for them? Do you ever do clothing or you just do like,
Everything.
no matter what?
Meaning, like, does Jake like to do certain things for, like, Sophie and would rather do it himself versus you going and shopping for it,
No.
things like that?
Not particularly. It really doesn't matter. He likes to buy stuff for her, but if I'm in town and I say, I see this with that, he doesn't throw a fit whether I get it.
Well, like, you know, my wife will like see something for me, you know, like if
I
I
do
need
that.
something like socks, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she'll buy socks, like, they're on sale.
They're on sale.
She'll grab them and says, you know, because she knows better than I do, because I can care less about going to the store. Where do you typically like to shop in that area? Like, where do you typically like to go?
Well, here's the thing. We do shop at Bass Pro,
No, I love Bass Pro.
and we go there because the babies love it. So we take the babies there. But Bass Pro is it, but we don't buy a whole lot there.
It's
The
expensive.
90% of my stuff I end up getting probably at Walmart, or sometimes I order stuff like, you know, little things for the kids or something I'll get off of goodwill.com. As long as it comes out of California or someplace like that, because you can get stuff that's, you know, like Nike tennis shoes are $10 for the kids, and they don't wear them out, so it's no big deal, you know.
Nike tennis shoes for
I
$10.
didn't know you could do that.
But it's good. That's shopgoodwill.com.
Oh.
Well, I got a new website to check out. I do
You
like
gotta be picky, I mean, you have to make sure it comes from a bigger.
Buying shoes for kids, man, they go through them like,
so fast.
They do.
like so
They do.
fast, and they're expensive.
We spend a small, I only have one child, so I've
Well,
obviously spoiled him, so
yeah.
we're constantly spending money on shoes and things.
So you go to a Bass Pro, you go to Walmart, which Walmart's, you know, probably half of America shops there, if not more.
One-stop shop kind of place.
Yes,
So
unfortunately.
you pick up stuff for them. Do they ask you, you just do it kind of on an auto?
It depends, you know, sometimes the boys go do all the shopping, and I'll give them a list. Or sometimes, I don't go anywhere, basically by myself.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I mean, I've shopped a couple times with just me and the kids, but sometimes I'll
Who
give
do you
them
go
a
with?
list. Well, usually George and Jake,
Oh, okay.
or one of them.
They don't mind shopping?
They don't like it, but.
Do they just drop you off and you go in?
No,
or
no, they'll go.
They all go on with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Wagner and Sophie have been through so much. Some days they have really good days.
I know exactly what you feel about bringing kids into shopping.
Or
So-
sometimes they want everything on the shelf, you know, and then they, you know.
Takes you 3 hours longer than what it needs to
Yes.
because they won't let up on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Your Honor, we've paused it. I think it would be maybe appropriate to take a break. We've got, it looks like a little less than half left, and it's been about a little over an hour and a half.
All right. That would be consistent with what we're trying to do as far as taking a break about every 2 hours. So we will take a break until 5 after 11. While you're on break, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. Do not permit anyone to discuss this case with you or in your presence. Do not form or express an opinion concerning this case. Do no research at all concerning this case as to the facts or as to the law from any source at all. Do not read, view, or listen to any reports or accounts of this case from any source at all, and have no contact with any of the participants in the trial, including parties to counsel or witnesses. Does counsel for either side have anything at this time before we break?
Just for the record, we're at 1:16:29
On the tape.
on it.
All right, so we are in break until 5 after 11. Assemble at the jury room at that time. Thank you. We're ready for the jury to be voted. Jason, go ahead and bring in. You may be seated. Special Agent Thomasford is in the witness chair, and the state may resume playing the recording at the point at which we stop the break.
Do you need a rest or break? Do you need anything? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, Angela, why is it that you think that we're here talking to you today?
Well, I presume it's because of, I don't know, the things that's going around, stuff that's being said.
Do you have any reason, let me ask you this, do you guys have any problems with anybody in the community? Anyone that you've had altercations with, arguments with, anyone that would have anything bad to say about you?
No.
No. Okay. Have any reason why you would think that somebody would come forward and indicate that you or someone in your family was some way involved in hurting the Rhodens?
I have no idea why anybody would say that, unless maybe one person would be my son's ex-wife,
Who's that?
Tabby Clay.
Tabby Clater?
Do you have a relationship with her?
Well, you know, she is Wilhelm's biological mother,
I know.
and she's Tabby. Let's just put it that
She's a
way.
little wild.
She's not wild. She has issues. She's supposed to be on medication,
Okay.
and she's not. She's bipolar, and
Bipolar?
you know, Tabby is just Tabby. That's why they're not together.
But like Jenny asked, why would people point at people in your family as being involved in this? That's what we want to
I
know.
mean, this
That's
is
why.
serious.
that's-
Well, I know it's serious. I know
We're
it
just,
is.
Angela, we're just trying to do our job.
I understand that.
And you've been great. Don't get me wrong, you've been great. I mean, but we want to know why.
Look, I don't know. I mean, if you tell me who it is, I can tell you. But as far as altercations, no. Me, no. Like I said, the only one that does not like me is Tabby. She doesn't like me.
Mhm.
Now, she does when she's in my face, but when she's behind my back, no, she doesn't like
Okay,
me.
so she's nice to you at least when you're together in person?
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, which is weird, but you know, she just doesn't. And it's probably her mom. I don't never did get into it that much. But and as far as Jacob, Leonard Manley does not like him.
And that's Dana's dad, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Is he
Okay.
the- is he the old guy that
Yep.
bumps off a lot?
On the news a lot?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, he's never liked Jacob.
What was the, no, just, this came, you just jogged something in my memory here. What was the custody, or not, what were the custody agreements with Sophie at the time of
Okay,
Hannah?
here's the way it went. If you want to know, Jake had a lawyer, okay,
Okay.
Bruce Daly.
What is it?
Bruce
Daly?
My mouth is right, it's Bruce, B-R-U-C-E, Daly.
Okay.
That was Jake's attorney.
Okay.
He talked to Hannah a couple times.
Okay.
So if you want to know the full details of that, I can give you that.
Okay.
But here's the thing, the way they worked it out was, like I said, she had her for a week, and Jake had her for a week, right?
Right.
As far as schools, churches, that kind of thing, Jake and Hannah really didn't see eye to eye on that.
Right,
okay?
which, that's not uncommon.
But they worked, the whole family kind of worked out a thing, as far as daycare, okay? Daycare, we don't believe in daycare.
Okay.
I never did let anyone babysit my kids. I just didn't have a need for it. But, as far as
Daycare can be
daycare,
dangerous.
well, you know, I homeschooled my kids
Right.
too, so I didn't like Pike County schools.
Okay. Fair.
Daycare, though, we worked that thing out. You know, there was a whole family issue that was worked out, and it was that, you know, when Jake had her, if he needed a babysitter, the first person called was Hannah.
Okay.
Then after Hannah would have been me or Billy or George, my son George.
Okay, I get that. You kind of touched on that earlier.
Right.
This is who gets it, and that's all.
At the time of the incident, it was still sitting in that same position. They had done paperwork,
What was the paperwork gonna say?
the same thing.
Okay, so there was gonna be a written agreement to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And did the lawyer do that for him at any point? Did the lawyer draft something up?
He did do that for them. He wrote it all out. He wrote it all out once, and then Hannah came in, and she talked to him with it and stuff, and then he rewrote it again, with, you know, because Hannah had wanted to change a couple of things.
Okay.
He rewrote it again, and then Chris had told her that he wanted her to get it checked, because, here's the thing, Bruce Daly was Jake's attorney, okay?
Okay.
Jake had paid him to do all of this stuff, so he said, I can't be your attorney and her attorney.
It's a conflict,
Yeah.
right?
So Chris said, okay, we'll get you an attorney to look over the paperwork.
Right.
I mean,
Did that ever happen?
well, here's the thing, she had an appointment to take it and have it looked over, and then something came up, and she rescheduled it. Then something came up again, and then something come up again, and then she was supposed to go do it, and it's still, that's the way it remained.
Now, was there any type of living will or anything, like if something were to happen, this is where, you know, Sophie would go, or,
I have no idea on that.
you have no idea? Do you have that?
On as far as that goes, I have no idea.
Something I want to show you, and I want to just see if you can help me out.
But like where Leonard is saying that
John,
there's a battle, you know, there
like a
was.
custody battle?
Yeah, there never was.
Okay.
They never went to court ever. The attorney is as far as they've ever gotten. It was just basically writing up what was already in effect.
Does this look familiar to you, Angela?
Is that what you're talking about, that the lawyer drafted up for you guys?
Is that what? The printed
No,
date
this
on
is-
the one?
Yeah, this.
Yeah.
I figured you guys could take these papers.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, so this right here, does this look familiar to you?
Those are, well, they must have done them. I don't know when they were done. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember those.
You don't remember that?
No.
What year was Sophie born?
13,
13? What's her birthday?
November 18th.
Okay. So this is Christmas Eve of 2014.
So if it had been just a little over a year old.
This is what we're curious about though, and then it was, do you know who that is?
Yeah, that's my mom.
That's your mom? So your mom notarized this,
Right.
but you didn't know about it?
I don't remember it.
Okay.
I mean, if it was, I don't, I don't
Now,
know.
this was in your things, okay? And this is the date it was printed out. Do you remember
Was it
printing it out?
was it in with these?
You know, I wasn't there.
Oh, no, we don't know, you're just
I
counting the
wasn't there,
papers.
Angela.
I don't know.
But this is the date it was printed out off the computer.
I don't know, you know what, I might have printed it. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember on that.
And that would have been roughly 3 weeks before
This is 3 weeks
they were
before the
killed.
murder.
I do
You don't-
not remember that.
You don't remember printing it out?
I mean, I don't remember. If I did, I don't, I might have done it, I don't remember.
Mhm.
Do you don't remember any reason why you would have done that?
I do not know.
You don't know, could it have, I mean, could somebody, did you definitely print? If this was printed, would it have been you? That's a fair question. I'm saying, if-
Probably, but I probably would, I don't remember it.
could you think maybe a reason why you would do it?
No, I don't. I mean, I just don't remember.
Right.
Okay.
But I know this, this is what they were going to use.
Mm-hmm. Who typed this, do you know? Do you know who typed these forms? It looks like an old, it almost looks like the old Word, you know, Word 98. Remember that?
Yeah, a while ago, yeah.
No, these are what they were, okay, these are what they had talked about.
But do you know who drafted this form?
I typed this. But this is
Do you
not,
know when that would have been drafted, roughly?
you know what, I do not know.
You don't know when it would have been
No,
drafted?
I can't
Okay,
tell you
that's
the
fair.
exact time, but I know that,
And this is what you talked
This
about,
is what they had- yes,
The
this is-
50-50.
this is what they have talked about, yes.
Mhm.
And I know that this is what they were going to take to the attorney.
Mhm.
Okay, so they were
Maybe
going to take
that's
that
what they
time.
already, I can't remember. I know that's what they were talking about, and that's what they were gonna take.
Mhm.
I just can't, I don't remember, I can't remember when.
But your mom notarized the form that Hanna signed for,
Your mom's Rita.
in the event of her death, that custody goes to Jake, right?
Yeah, I would guess so.
Did you know that ahead of time, that in event of, like a living will? I mean, we got living wills.
I know
Something happens
that.
to me, I go to, you know,
Right.
I mean, it's
right.
not like, I'm not accusing you of anything.
Oh, I know.
We're just trying to
that.
narrow down this custody issue.
I know that, but I do know, I don't know that there was, that right there, if I printed it off, I don't remember this.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Okay,
That
that's
I really
fair.
don't know.
Okay.
This is.
I know that they did not ever have a battle as far
Okay.
as,
This is the thing,
Fighting
though,
over
Angela, this is the thing that we're just trying to iron out here, okay? The custody issue, we're trying to iron out and move on, okay? We got a notarized document in the event of, and this is, investigations 101. You know what I mean? You have, in the event of the death of, it would be like, for example, Angela, if you and I are married, okay? And I end up mysteriously poisoned or dead or mysteriously die, or by circumstances. And they find or if Jenny and I were married and I die of suspicion, and Jenny prints out a 2 to 3 days before my unsuspected death, she prints out all the documents related to my the
Life
payoff,
insurance
my
policy.
life insurance policy.
Right.
You see where I'm going with this? So this ain't, there's not money involved, there's custody involved, okay? And we're just trying to iron this out so we can move on, okay? So that's where.
So we can explain, because we can explain this away.
My boss comes to me and hands me a packet and says, hey, we need to vet this issue. Either it's no good or it's good or whatever, and we need to move on. Because it's been a year now, and we want to do our job, we want to do our job diligently, and you've been great. I'm not gonna take that away from you. You've been sitting here, you've been answering our questions, and I
Thank you.
greatly appreciate it because you're making our life easier when you do that, okay? But we're just trying to figure out, this is really interesting to me, that this was printed out 3 weeks before the murder, less than 3 weeks, that it's Hannah's given up, you know, custody, which would only make sense. I'm not
Naturally, we'd assume it would go to Jake.
This is a very
obviously.
natural document, okay? And it was right after she was born, you know, I mean, not right after, but.
Within a year roughly,
Yeah.
give or take.
And then, you know, you have it printed out three weeks before the murder. And that's something we just wanna, and you said you don't remember printing it out. That's fine.
Like I said, if I did,
It's a year ago.
if I did, I don't,
You don't know why you would've?
no.
Okay,
I don't, I mean, I don't remember.
okay. Angela, I wanna ask you about Billy and Jake and George. I mean, tell me what I mean, do you feel that Jake would go beyond anything unusual because he's so heartbroken over this issue?
No.
And
It's
that,
not that,
this is,
I'm sorry, we just have to ask you these
yeah,
questions.
these
We
are
have
awkward
to.
for us too, don't get me wrong. When you have to, families are very intimate, okay? They're very intimate and they're very personal, okay? And you have two people sitting here with you in a room that you've never met before, and we're asking you to open up about things to people you don't even know. I'm trying to lessen that awkwardness and that uncomfortableness. Families are very tight-knit, they're very intimate, and they're very close.
yes.
Okay, and we're trying to figure out, okay, and there's some other things I'm going to show you here in a little bit too, that I want to see if you have, you know, your ideas on it. Okay. So my question is, could something have gone totally awry that you may have no knowledge of? Could something have happened between Hannah and Jake that could have
Not that I'm
gone?
aware of.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't there 24/7
I
in
understand
their
that.
conversations, but Jake was not, as I'm saying, even though Jake still loves her, he probably still loves her because of Sophie. And they went through a whole lot together, but not to the point of that.
Okay. Not to the point of murder.
No.
Because let me tell you something that I think.
And he had nothing against Dana, or little Chris, or Frankie,
Right.
or Chris.
This is my feeling, not about your sons, but about the Rhodens. Okay? They have a complicated history. And when I say tragedy, I mean there's been some sexual charges years ago by the grandfather, you know, and there's a daughter that doesn't even come back anymore, not Chris Jr., but Chris's sister.
Yeah, I know he
You know
has
what
a
I mean?
sister that
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. And we talked to her, and she laid, and I believe her 110%. You know, and they all got dragged in, you know, and that divides, something like that takes a family and does this. And it did to their family.
Right.
Okay? Now, the Rhodens basically were in all kinds of shit. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. They were growing marijuana, okay? They were selling marijuana, they were selling cocaine, okay? Hannah was kind of promiscuous. You know, you can claim she's a teenager and sowing her oats, but she's promiscuous. She gets pregnant again, and then she's got another boyfriend aside from her new baby.
And we're not even sure who
You
the
know what
dad
I
is
mean?
initially.
And so,
Well, yeah.
listen, a culmination of these things, right? And then you have grandchildren, right, that are particularly Sophie, that are like a pawn in this crap. You know what I mean? How many times you see custody issues where kids are used as pawns? Right?
Sure.
So I'm trying to wrap my brain around some things. That's one of them that those guys found in that search warrant. And let me back up. I'm not condoning anything that was messed or broken because that's water under the bridge. I apologize for my colleagues if anything like that, because nobody deserves to have their property disrespected.
Well, that's fine.
Okay. So again, I'm asking you I'm kind of beating around the bush with you, but I think you know where I'm going, okay? So I'm asking you,
Do you think that my son did it?
or
Or my husband?
anybody in your family.
No.
I'm asking you, okay, can you tell me definitively no?
Yes, I can tell you definitively no.
Tell me why.
Flat out no.
Tell me why.
Because one, my son wouldn't do that. Like I
Okay.
said, he had nothing against, he had nothing against him. And even though him and Hannah broke up, it wasn't enough for that. And it really wasn't enough for the rest of them. Him and Frankie talked, they chit-chatted, oh my gosh, they talked about deer hunting and, you know, when they seen each other at the gas station, they would talk. I mean, it wasn't that kind of a,
All right, it wasn't a,
breakup.
it wasn't
Talking to the whole family.
it wasn't a domestic,
No,
beat each
it
other up.
wasn't, no,
Right.
it wasn't. And as far as my husband goes, you couldn't even say a bad word about Chris
All right. In front of him, you would defend him?
at all. No, you couldn't.
Okay.
His dog he has came from Chris, and if you even say a bad word about that dog, you live in hell for weeks.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just that's ignition of it, so no.
That's fair, and you're telling me how you feel. What about, let me ask you this, going back to, the guys that did the search warrants at your, the Flying W at the, is it Peterson address, right?
The house.
Yeah, the house.
My old house.
Right, well, I know where the Flying W is, I've seen it, you know, actually, I had an officer involved shooting, in Pike County long before all this stuff
Okay.
happened.
Okay.
And I remember actually, because I love horses, and I remember driving by that one day,
Okay.
you know, but I'm asking you, the guys talked about, and the people that were on the search warrant talked about, all the boots that Billy owns and stuff that was left there at the Flying W. I mean, they were all like, a lot of like nice stuff, you know?
Okay.
So when you shopped, would you buy their paint?
No, I don't,
Sure.
no.
Okay.
You want to see receipts for that stuff?
No, I'm not saying anything stolen.
No, nothing like that. No, I'm saying, you want to know?
No, I'm asking you, would you buy like their clothes on their back?
No, I don't buy my husband's, no.
How about Jake or George's? I'm not talking when they were 10 and 12.
Okay, if I'm at Walmart and I see Jake wears a particular pair of pants,
Okay.
if I see some, I'll buy them for him. The last bunch he got, his grandmother bought for him.
And how long ago was that?
Well, let's see, it was, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, because she gave me money to go to Walmart to buy the kids a bunch of stuff, and I spent like $500 there buying stuff like socks and stuff was $1 a pack, you know, because they had winter clearance. And then at the same time, she felt bad because, you know, she's got this thing where if she buys for one, she has to buy for everybody. So it's that way. So she bought my husband a whole bunch of stuff, and then she ordered George a bunch of pairs of jeans. And then
But when so I'm talking about what you do though. So when you'll buy stuff for
Yes.
them. Will you buy shirts and pants and you know their sizes, right? And
Yeah.
stuff like that. Would you buy socks, shoes, and all that stuff?
No, I don't buy shoes.
Never buy shoes?
No.
Okay.
Because,
Sneakers?
no.
Okay.
Because I don't buy shoes for them because of the fact that they're,
Particular.
I know what size they wear, but sometimes things fit differently.
Okay. So you'll buy underwear, socks,
Yes.
but you won't buy the stuff they're particular about,
No.
right? Like, I don't like, my wife buying certain things for me, but if she wants to buy socks, I really don't care. But I'm gonna ask you, this is another thing I wanna discuss with you, and I want your candid response and your opinion on it, okay? Another issue we have, I want the print, not that.
Sorry, there's lots of stuff in here.
I know there's,
I don't know
that's
how this stuff
time.
is.
That's fine, yeah. See these right here? Now these right here are a crime scene. I don't want to show you these aren't too bad, but I'm not gonna show you some pictures.
There's more.
But these are foot impressions made in blood, okay, by the killers. We know they're not the police, we know they're not the fire department of the medics, and we know that they're not Chris or any of those, okay? And that's, so what we have at the crime lab, being that we're the state of Ohio, and I think we have the best crime lab in the country, is they have a database like we do fingerprints, okay? And what we can do is we can take any shoe tread in the world, manufacturer, and identify the manufacturer and the size, okay? So, like 3 weeks before the murder,
I'll just give you everything so you do.
yeah, sure. I hate to ask you something like that.
No, that's all right. I just haven't really had a chance to look through all these yet.
Do those ring a bell to you?
I don't know.
You don't ever remember buying those for any reason, or ever seeing those? Does it look familiar to you in any way?
I know,
No?
I mean, I've seen Billy's dad have some of those.
Nobody did
Yeah.
that?
They kind of look like old man type
I think
shoes.
they look like, you know, they almost remind me of those shoes that you wear like as a boot to a, okay. Now, during our search, when I say our, I represent BCI, okay, we have a receipt for those shoes purchased by you.
Okay, well, I did purchase them.
Mhm. Is that your excursion?
Yep.
The one you used to own? Okay. Okay. Those were purchased
7th of April.
7th of April, which
2016.
is, you know, maybe a little, right around 2 weeks before the murders. Do you know who those shoes were for, Angela? You bought 2 pairs of them.
I don't know. Are you telling me those are the shoes that was used in the murder?
Yep.
I don't.
Somebody wearing those shoes stepped in the blood of either Chris or Gary or whomever and left the shoe impression, the tread impression. We matched it with our lab database. So we know it came from those particular shoes that you bought less than 2.5 weeks prior to the murders.
I do not think that they could be those.
They are.
They're
Our lab matched them.
They're an identical match.
Identical size to what the shoe tread was at the crime scene to the size shoe that you bought at Walmart.
We're just trying to figure it out.
Oh, no, that's fine, that's fine. I mean, I got them, but I don't, they are an old man's shoe, so they wouldn't wear them. But they wouldn't have used them on those because I threw them away.
But what away?
So you remember buying them?
Yeah, I mean, I do, but because I remember they wanted some shoes,
You threw them away?
but they're, you know, an old man's shoe, and they wouldn't wear them, but I don't know how they could be the exact ones.
Why would you buy them if you don't think they would wear them?
No, I said they wouldn't afterwards.
Okay.
After what?
They saw
After they saw them?
them, you know, old man's shoes.
So you did look at them and say, you know, wait.
Papa wears those.
So you do remember buying them and you do remember throwing them away?
Yeah,
So when did you throw them away? Like the day you brought them home?
well, let's see, I don't know the exact day that I threw them away. And that I don't know.
Okay.
Angela?
Do you understand why this is, we have to ask you out.
You
Well, I
understand why this is
understand
important?
that, yeah, of course I understand that.
So look where we're at now, and I got a couple other things I want to go over with you and get your opinion on. Okay, right now we have that printed out life, or not life insurance, but the printed out custody, if in the event of Hannah's death, that was printed out 3 weeks before her death, that was signed back in December 2014, okay? We have, okay, 2 weeks before the homicide, you purchased 2 pairs of shoes, which identically match bloody footprints in the crime scene, okay? Now, when you put a fingerprint somewhere, if like I've been to Jenny's house, her and her husband, okay? And if they found my fingerprints on your coffee table, okay, that would be explainable. Yeah, Rick's been here before. You know what I mean? If there's a bloody print and she's dead, there's no getting around that. Okay? So we're just trying to explain this, okay? Okay, so you know they did a search warrant on the house that you sold. You know that, right? This is a photograph of a lab analysis of casings that were recovered from your driveway. Okay? We have ballistics experts. Okay, lab.
I'm looking for it.
Yep.
That's a lab report from the shoe confirming the match to the tread. This is the database they pulled up with the shoe tread to verify the match. And then here's a lab report from the casings that we found in your driveway.
Okay, this is a lab report from the casings in the driveway. They're an identical match.
The casings.
The casings of a gun, when you fire, you fire guns. When you fire a gun, it ejects a casing on the gun. Okay?
Yeah.
There were casings recovered from several of the crime scenes. Okay? Of various calibers.
Yeah.
Okay? These identically match. They both came from the shell casings in your driveway. Okay? The
I'm
22
listening to you,
the 22
yeah.
shell casings were fired from the same gun that killed.
There's no way.
Angela, it's an identical match. We have all
There's no way that they were, there's no way.
Angela, there's the report.
Okay, I'm telling you, there is no way.
We have everyone in our ballistics lab, every expert, every firearm experts review and confirm. It is an identical match.
Here, let me, you want me to?
As long as I hold it out here. I
Okay,
can
that's
see
fine.
it.
Do you want your glasses?
Yes, please. Because there is no way. What did they even use? They didn't even say what they used.
Oh, we know what they
We know what we walked with the autopsy.
And of course you do. You're telling me it's a 22.
One of them.
But there's I told you we own 22s.
Right, we know that.
There are several different ones.
I
I
know.
understand that.
This is a specific type of 22 round, a specific type of 22 caliber gun that was used to kill some of the
Angela.
victims. You can
Okay,
read the bottom.
carried, I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Angela, casings are a definitive match on a blueprint.
And I understand what you're saying on that. I do.
It's a blueprint. When I fire my weapon, my issued gun, and it ejects a round, okay?
Yes.
And then I use it somewhere else, that's an identical match. There's no maybe, possibly, could be the same gun, or yeah, it was just because there were 22 casings in your driveway and there were 22 casings at the crime scene, doesn't mean, oh, okay, then we have 22 rounds here, we have 22 rounds there.
You do know we're not the only ones that shot guns at our house, right?
Who
There are
shoots guns?
several people down. Over the time span we've been there, there's been several people down there.
Such as?
Such as, let's see, let me guess. There's been, Frankie's been down there. Oh my God, there's been several other people. The people that hunt on us have been down there. There's just been, I don't know, there's been several
Okay,
people.
Angela, I understand what you're saying, okay? look through my eyes.
I'm looking through your eyes, okay?
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
You're not, you're far, far from stupid.
No, I'm not
Okay.
stupid, but I don't see how there could be a match down there.
There is a match
To multiple,
to multiple.
22 casings we found on your property.
Okay, I'm not making this stuff up.
That's just one lab report, so other ones pending. But they've been confirmed.
We have other tests that are waiting, that we have not got back yet based on the search warrants, on other things that we're waiting for. Okay, let me just outline this here, and I'm asking you, that's why I'm asking you, could this have been done without, number one, your knowledge? Okay, and if you did know about it, did you know about it after the fact?
No, I did not know about it.
Okay, this is why I'm trying to salvage some semblance of your grandchildren. Okay, I don't want to leave them with nobody, or for them to go back to some Rhoden. That's the last thing I want to do.
An April Manley or
Yeah,
something
or a
like that.
Manley. I don't want that, trust me. But I want the truth from you. Okay? Did something happen, and then you're like, what the fuck?
No, I'm not,
No?
I'm aware of nothing that
Okay,
happened like that.
but you say you told me 10 minutes ago you're definitively sure.
I
that
am
you're
not.
definitive.
Yes, I know.
There's too much mounting.
Definitive after all this.
Even after all that, we have casings that we used at the crime. We have the same gun that was used at the crime scene that was shot at your house. We have shoes.
Do you have the gun?
No. We have shoes that were used, okay, that you purchased 2 weeks before the
Yes,
murder.
I purchased them, but I'm telling you, they didn't like them. They wouldn't wear them. You know, they wanted a pair of shoes. They always wear boots. Whoop-de-doo, I bought them and they didn't like them. I don't know about that.
Okay.
But that right there, the guns we
Who's in
have.
the car? Did you go with the kids? I mean, you look alone in that picture. When you went to Walmart to buy that stuff back in April of 2016, okay? You're alone. You're alone.
But I don't know that you're alone getting back in the car.
You're not.
No, I was not alone.
Who were you with?
Yeah, who are you with?
Who was I with that day? I know the kids were sleeping,
Where?
I think. Well, they would have been in the car. I didn't leave with him, but I think we were all in the car. I can't remember that one.
I guess the bottom line is, we have all this. You can understand how this appears.
Yes, I see that you have.
And this is if you're going to have any chance to talk with us about what happened, what knowledge you have, it's now.
Yes.
Well, listen,
It's now.
I want to make something perfectly clear with you, Angela. I'm not against you at all, okay? I am more concerned about them than I am anybody. When I mean them, I mean those grandchildren, okay? So I need to know what you know. And I honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, Angela, I'm going to be completely frank with you. You and I have had a good rapport this entire, I don't know what your rapport was like with the other folks. You and I have a decent rapport, so I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't lied to you yet, okay? But I don't believe everything you're telling me when we're getting down to this. I believe everything before that, okay? But I don't believe this.
If we,
Okay, we need to know the truth.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
telling you, I do not know
you're not-
anything that happened between Jake and Hannah. I don't know any arguments they got into. I don't know of any fights.
Angela,
As far as my husband goes, as far as I do not think there was any at all.
Angela, when we talked to you about the shoes, you told us you never bought shoes for them.
No, I don't
And then-
know
and
that.
then you-
But
and then
yeah, but then you remember things.
And
I
then
don't.
I get that, and then we show you these obscure shoes that were bought, and you said, when I brought them home, they didn't like them, so I tossed it out. They're in the car waiting for you, we could tell. On the
Okay,
actual video, you can tell,
okay.
okay? So you bring them out there, And did they tell you there that they didn't like them? I mean, you arbitrarily bought some shoes that, quite frankly, I think are the ugliest shoes in the world. Okay? And you think they're gonna like them? And then you remember throwing them away.
Okay, look, let me tell you something. When I get in the car, it's not like a normal get in the car. Oh, hey, look, it's not. It's always.
Did you throw your bags?
Most of the time. If things are hectic, it doesn't always work the way it's supposed to work.
Angela, you're not being 100%.
I told you.
I can tell by the way you're talking.
Okay.
Well,
I'm gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop.
well, I don't want to make you mad.
No, I'm just gonna stop right here and I can get an attorney. That's what I'm gonna do. Because I don't, no, I'm just not gonna say no more.
Angela, I don't want to make you mad. Okay?
You're not making me mad, but
Am I being disrespectful to you? Just answer it right away.
I don't think that you are.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
But, and I know what you're thinking, and I know what you're getting at, and I'm just gonna talk to an attorney, and I'll send an attorney to talk to you.
Okay.
Okay. That's
Well,
what I'm gonna do, because
I can't go on.
That's your right.
That's your right.
I just don't want you to miss an opportunity because you might not get this opportunity again to talk to us.
I understand that.
Okay. And I don't know what's going to happen with the lab results, and I don't know if things are going to happen and arrests are going to be made, and I don't know what's going to happen to kids from that point.
Yeah, that's why we're
So-
here. That's why we're talking to you.
Well, people are in jail and the kids go into foster care. They're going to someone else's care. They're out. I wanted to give you the opportunity, that's all. We have to talk to Border Patrol, we're not the ones that are here. Yep.
I don't know if there's still a drink here.
Are we trying to find you some water?
Yeah, you want some water, Angela?
Yes, please.
I'll figure that out.
I guess I'm just sitting here with you, we don't talk about it, but Border Patrol, that's their policy. Once they're done with your stuff, you're free to go, but they don't want you left by yourself. We didn't come to upset you. We're just doing our job. I'll have one of the border people escort you, okay?
And Mr. Wilson, can you tell us what the length of that was? It was 2 hours, 4 minutes?
2 hours, 4 minutes.
Okay. Okay. And did you play the entirety of it?
Yes.
Agent Thomasford, does that represent the entirety of the conversation that you had with Angela Wagner on May 21st of 2017 at the Montana border?
Yes.
Okay. So you did not have any other conversation before or after that recording that we just listened to?
No.
Okay. And does that recording fairly and accurately depict the conversation that you did have with Ms. Wagner on May 21st of 2017?
It does.
Just for purposes of clarification, Agent Thomasford, is it common for you to say things you don't mean in interviews with suspects?
I would say that's fairly common, depending on the situation.
Okay. And specifically, you guys knew that a potential motive was custody, correct?
Correct.
And that there was concerns that on the Wagners that
I'm sorry? Well, it is a leading question, unless it's necessary to develop anything, I'm going to sustain the objection.
Okay. What was your understanding about the Wagner's concerns about the grandchildren ending up with the Rhoden family?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I said the Wagner family.
And your objection is?
Which way?
Well, maybe creating a foundation for how she knows what it is you're asking her might clarify a little bit about who you're talking about. So I'm going to sustain the objection at this point.
Okay. You were privy to the documents that you were provided to use when you did your interview of Ms. Wagner, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And those documents were, are you aware whether or not those documents were provided to each of the investigative teams that were conducting interviews that day?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. And you indicated that you were one of the primary agents that was back and forth to Pike County on a daily basis, correct?
Yes.
And that you participated in daily briefings, correct?
Yes.
And that you were present for the search warrants that were conducted at Peterson Road, State Route 41, and the Flying W, correct?
Yes.
And you were privy to other information that was gleaned from other agents along the way during the daily briefings, et cetera, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And based on that information, did you have an understanding regarding what any of the members of the Wagner family concerns about the Rhodens having custody of Sophia specifically?
Yes, my understanding is there were concerns on the part of the Wagner family that Sophia would become under the custody of the Rhoden family.
I'm going to overrule the objection, although the term Wagner family, I'm not sure how, if you're using the term the same way, the witness understands how you're using the term.
Yeah. So, did you know which of the Wagners had those concerns?
Specifically, Angela, Jake, George, and Billy.
Okay. And were you also aware of the relationship with Tabitha and George and how that whole custody events with Bovine played out?
Overruled.
Yes, I have some familiarity with that situation.
Okay. And again, can you tell us what your strategy is when you say things like, well, I really wouldn't want the child to go back to the Rhodens. Tell us why those kinds of comments are made during this interview.
Generally, they're made to establish and to build rapport with the individual that you're interviewing, as a way of trying to communicate to them that you understand their feelings, that you understand where they're coming from, in the hopes that they'll become more comfortable and more willing to talk to you and to potentially disclose information that maybe they wouldn't have at the start of the conversation.
Okay. And again, those are not necessarily things you believe yourself.
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us, we could tell in the interview that you were using some of the items that were provided to you, correct?
Correct.
In the thing. Specifically, you showed, it appeared from the conversation, the document that was purportedly signed by Hanna Rhoden and purportedly notarized by Rita Newcomb, Angela's mother, and printed on the date of April 3rd of 2016, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm just going to show you that so you can identify it for the record. State's Exhibit CC, oh, well, this one is, sorry. CC 295A, and if you can just look at that and tell me, obviously that's not, does that look like the same document that you showed Ms. Wagner during that interview?
Yes.
Okay. And then additionally, there was a document you were talking about, and it was talking about 50-50 custody, and I believe Ms. Wagner indicated that she had typed it up. If you could look at State's Exhibit C288B, and just let me know if you recognize that.
Yes.
Okay, and what do you recognize that as?
That was the document that was included in the file that we utilized during the interviews.
Okay. And then it appeared that you had also showed her crime scene photos that showed shoe prints in blood from one of the scenes, from scene 1, correct?
Yes.
And you also showed her the lab results regarding both the shoe print impression and the ballistics from the shell casings that were recovered from 260 Peterson Road, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When you were done with your interview, is that information that would be shared out with the investigative team?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us if that interview that you conducted of Angela Wagner on May 21st, 2017 at the Montana border, was that the extent of your responsibilities or tasks at the border on that date?
Yes.
Okay. You did not conduct any of the other interviews?
No.
I have no other questions of this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Might be a good time to break before cross-examination, defense counsel. It is approximately 10 after 12. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be in recess until 10 after 1. At that time, the jury is to assemble at the jury room. You'll be brought up to the courtroom by court personnel, as you always have been. While you're on noon break, you're not to discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. You're not to permit anyone to discuss this case with you or in your presence. You're not to form or express an opinion concerning this case. You're not to do any research at all concerning this case, either as to the facts or as to the law from any source at all. You're not to review or listen to any reports or accounts of this case from any source at all. You're to have no contact with participants in the case, including parties, counsel, or witnesses. Does counsel for either side have anything further you wish to put on the record before we recess for our recess?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So we are in recess until 10 after 1.